24 mwezi ni wa 5 mwaka 2021. You guys had a very great weekend and you're ready to start off the week. It's another Monday again. It's a new week. It's a fresh week. And I hope you're feeling fresh this morning and ready to start off. And this is the Tackle, the Common Sense edition that comes to you every Monday. You get to talk about life and money. Life and money. I mean, there could never be a better way to start off your week than being on the Tackle, the Common Sense edition. We have to talk about things that affect your life. Now, we have very big conversations coming up. And I hope you guys are ready to have that conversation with us. We have a great show lined up for you. I hope you guys are ready to start the conversation with us. As usual, this is the Common Sense edition, being the Monday 24th May 2021. And kuna kapteni Collins Wanderi leo anapiga na leo kupiga man solo. Is the second week doing it solo. Eric MWANGI alikuwa na emergency kidogo mahali hali ya kikazi, lakini ataweza kuwa na sisi Monday inayokuja. Sasa Eric, sasa tukupe break tena. Kirudi basi labda tuangalie maneno ya senior citizen. Umzike kidogo, lakini wewe Rico, you're not going to let you go. Anyway guys, karibuni sana. As usual, I request that you join, please like. When you like, I get to know that you're watching us, and after you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is a Tackle, and Tackle begins now. Lakini kama kawaida, kabla tuanze lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu kirudi na kuja kuwapa salamu zenu. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, glorify your name. Thank you for another chance to be alive this morning. We thank you for a new week. We thank you for a new day. Thank you for unto us. We thank you for everything that are given our hands and to do as we go out to walk and to hand. Father, I pray that you may bless the work of our hands. I thank you for the class who have joined us this morning. I pray that you may meet them at their point of individual needs. We also thank you for the panelists this morning, Captain Collins Wanderi. We pray that as he speaks to this nation, may be able to edify the fabric of this nation. As you start, be with us. When we finish, glory and honor shall be unto your name. Just make my pen believe. Amen and amen. Haya. Sasa niangalie kina nani wameanza kuamka saa hii mapema. Sijui kina nani wameamka mapema hii. Let me see. Tafadhali fika pale, ukifika pale please like, share and let us know where you're watching us from. Fika pale tafadhali like, share na uniambie mahali unatazama kutoka. When you get in, please like, share and let us know where you're watching us from. Wacha nione kina nani wameanza kuamka tayari. Mmepotelewa wapi leo nyinyi watu? Haya. Aya, naona Kohej Zapania elimu ameamka. Kagife all the way from Thika. So good morning to you. Mungalita continue. Good morning Tackle. Tuning in from Coventry, United Kingdom. Good to be part of this morning. Cannot Common Sense edition. Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you, Alita Mungalita continue. I hope you guys had a very great weekend and you're ready to start off the week. Naona Babake Williams, good morning from KSA. Asante sana. Klein Kelvin diving in as number 1. Asante sana. Klein Kelvin Mohammed Dain Habdi. Good morning to you. Mohammed, salam alaikum. Wale manu wasarem honda bomba sas kubene nyiganeta mamushwa na Geeks Lel Rotich. Peri Ropan, good morning to you. My brother Peter Neritu Thodi tuned in from Kenneth. Asante sana tu wa Kenneth, Mungu awabariki. John Digi Wanaina, good morning to you. My brother Amon B Ward, good morning Bito, good morning to you. David David Bet, good morning to you. Emmanuel Sarama Musha Isaac Sarem na Leonard Sarem, thank you my brother. Mheshimiwa wa Tapsago Award Jared Kimeto Mwanyasa, good morning GB. Blessed week ahead, tuko mashinani watching live. Asante sana watu wa mashinani wa Tapsago na mheshimiwa wenu washaingia tayari. Asante sana Jared Kimeto. Klein Kelvin sema yeah we are Narok. Asante watu wa Narok. Kiptano ikebena morning katika from Kerio Valley Biretwa. Asante Boy Mwangi Invoy logged in. Asante Rosli Ala Lady Tosha Rosie wa Tarbo, good morning Bito. Good morning to you Rosli Ala. Unatarusha apata top fan badge yako. Asante sana Lady Tosha Rosie wa Tarbo. Good morning Don Maverick, good morning from CBD. Asante sana Kibaga Rotit, good morning. Kwa Zavania Limo on point following. Asante sana vizuri kwa ona la Costa KE, good morning. Ashok Tackle, asante Leonard Sarem, good morning. Niko ndani kama kawa. Asante sana my brother. Thank you for always tuning in. Kusimba the Sam, good morning. Richard Karinguri tuned in. Asante Robbins. Ruta, asante sana kwa na Robbins. MC Aspirant Tenaya Macau, good morning live from Annex Eldoret. Asante sana. Na ulitoka pale mashinani. Wilson Chelel, good morning GB. Good morning to my brother Godfrey Baraza Were. It's a good morning indeed, and the Tackle is the appropriate way to kick away the Monday blues. We are proud of you, Gerald. Asante sana. Thank you so much Godfrey Baraza Were. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. We love you right back. Batu Kigunda, good morning. Bitok watching you live from CBD. Asante Mohamed Abdullahi. Tuko na wewe Milano ndogo. Asante sana watu wa Milano ndogo. Pale North Coast. Asante, it's good to see you guys. Geoffrey Kimeli tuned in from Nandi. Sharon Shani, good morning Bitok. Good morning to you. Watu wa Western. Sharon Shani, it's good to see you. Christopher Meto Ruto, good morning from Machakos. Tindra, good morning Team Tackle, the real patriotic movement. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you Tindra. Kevin Rono, Morning, Asa Tackle tuned in from Cap Katet. Waruguru Gitao. As a good morning to Waruguru Gitao on the Bondonyoni. As Emmanuel, I'm called Dononi watching from Bungoma. Asante sana watu wa Bungoma na wasalimia sana na msalimiane pale nyumbani. Sam and some morning everyone watching from Darugo. Haya, nashukuru kwa Matei Evans. Good morning to you. Bitok from Kitale. Blessed week ahead. Good to see you, my brother. Peter and Ruth Theori tuned in from Kenneth. I love your show. Thank you so much, Peter and Theori. Waruguru Wakiai. Wewe, I hereby summon you again. I'm summoning you actually tomorrow. Waruguru wa Kiai, I'm summoning you tomorrow. The tackle on Tuesday. Tafadhali, karibia tackle. Someone here last week, you've not honored it. So I expect to see you tomorrow on the tackle. And I get to see you. Naona Kenda, Washington, morning from Nakuru. Asante sana Milson Tirop. Good morning, Gerald. Sydney, Ecolog. Asante sana to Sydney, Australia. The land down hand. Naona Elok Sain hand. Good morning. Good morning to you. Faison, good morning, Gerald from Kericho County. Asante sana watu wa Kericho. Tunawapenda zaidi. We love you. Right back. I request that you join me. Please like. When you like, I get to know that you watching us and not like share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. Please like, share, and let us know where you're watching us from. Naona CEO Amadani Motors Eric Mwangengege. Good morning, pass my greetings to Team Tackle. Miss you all. See you soon. Asante sana Eriko. Na ukaribie bwana, watu wanakumiss sana. Please come back. Karibu rudi nyumbani. Haya, tafadhali piga share, lakini tuende pale tulipa madeni kwanza, alafu tukirudi na kuja kuona ni lipi tutakuja kuzungumzia leo. Kama kawaida, tunakimbia pale madukani, tuanze kujua ni nani anauza wapi. Kama kawaida pia, kama unataka ku advertise, if you wish to advertise that, tafadhali tumia ujumbe kwenye inbox. Please send me an inbox. Samo piga nambari 0731027727. If you want to advertise with us, please call in 0731027727. Maridadi Motors inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuagiza gari yako. Maridadi Motors give you an opportunity to import directly, to import your vehicle directly from wherever you want to import it from. Kama ni Singapore, kama ni Dubai, kama ni Dubai, kama ni Dubai, kama ni Japan, kama ni Australia. Kuna watu ambao wanaingiza gari kutoka Australia pia. Maridadi Motors give you an opportunity to import your vehicle directly with them, and you get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings when you import in Maridadi Motors. You get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings when you import in Maridadi Motors. I mean, they could never. Unajua tu walikuwa wanasemanga ati watu wa magari na watu wa kora, lakini Maridadi Motors has debunked the motor industry na wameweza kukimbiza wakora nje kabisa. So you get to import with Maridadi Motors, you get the best deals, and you get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings when you import with Maridadi Motors. Inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuagiza gari lako na unaweza kuweka ama kusave pesa up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings when you import with Maridadi Motors. Maridadi Motors also give you an opportunity to invest your money. If you have some money that's lying somewhere, kuna watu ambao wako na akiba na lala idle mahali fulani, they get to give you up to 15%. Where else do you get a 15% return on your investment? So you get to invest Maridadi Motors import to sell module. Import to sell module gives you an opportunity to invest your money. If you have some money that's lying somewhere, you can invest with Maridadi Motors import to sell, and you get one up to 15%. You get one up to 15% returns on your investment. Kama kuna pesa mahali umeweka, they get to import the car under your name. Kuna watu walikuwa wanauliza, how does this importation work? The car is imported under your name. So your car is your own property, your own security. They only get to sell on your behalf, and you get one up to 15% returns on the money that you invest. Maridadi Motors Sacco also gives an opportunity to save. If you want to save money, please join Maridadi Motors Sacco. You get to save your money. Na ikifika mahali ambapo you want a car, you can get a car at 50% savings. If you save Maridadi Motors Sacco 50% total value of the car. Kama gari yako ni 800,000, you can save 400,000 with Maridadi Motors Sacco. Alafu anakuletea gari, alafu ile nyingine unaweza kulipa ukiendesha gari yako. Hakuna mahali pengine ambao unaweza pata swala kama hilo. Safi sana. Maridadi Motors pia iko na Maridadi Driving Academy ambayo inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kutrain. Si driving school, driving academy. Driving academy inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kujifunza kuwa mwendeshaji maridadi zaidi. Wanakuuzia gari, wanakufunza vile utaendesha, alafu basi unakuwa driver maridadi kwenye barabara. Maridadi Motors pia inakupa spa clean, motor spa pale Siata Mall nyuma. Ukienda pale every Thursday na kuanga pale nikichapa kibarua. Ukija pale useme kama mtumwa na Bito, kama unatazamanga the tackle. If you want the tackle na unakimbia pale Siata Mall nyuma Sparkling Motors, unaweza kuosha gari yako at discount. Ukiambia umetumwa na Bito kuna pigwa discount, alafu unapewa keychain kama hii. Na keychain kama hii ya maridadi. Naona Captain Wanderi agenda kuosha gari. Ungekuwa na yako keychain kama hii. You get to have a keychain like this when you get to Sparkling Motors. Uweze gari uambie umetumwa na Bito unapewa keychain ya maridadi, alafu mambo inakuwa maridadi zaidi. Haya, ina Maridadi Motors wanakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuleta gari yako trade in pia. Kama uko na gari unataka kubadilisha, unajua Captain siku juzi amesema nataka kupanda kununua V8. Azio gari yake kidogo anaenda anapeana pale kama trade in, alafu mnasikizana bei, unaweza kupewa gari nyingine safi zaidi na bei safi zaidi. Alafu pia kuna majamaa wangu wa Swift Airtime. Swift Airtime inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuload airtime. You can load airtime via paybill number 325325. Your account number is your number, is your phone number. Nambari yako ya simu ndio account number yako. Kimbia pale paybill 325325 is a business number. Alafu account number unaweka nambari yako ya simu. Kama nambari yako ya simu ni kama yangu ya studio, unaweka pale 325325 paybill business number. Alafu na pale account number unaweka 07798010. Nambari yako ya simu ndio account number yako, lakini business number ni 325325. Na kama pia una balance kwa simu na uko na fuliza, unaweza pia kununua airtime na Swift Airtime. Baada ya wangu pia wa delivery Zigo. Anasema you ask we deliver. If you're in Nairobi and you want something delivered very fast, you can trust Zigo to do that, and with serious networks within Nairobi, CBD, wapi ukimbiza Makarongai, Ngong, wapi mahali popote unataka kufanya delivery, fanya delivery yako na Zigo. Zigo, we ask we deliver. And mambo yamekuwa sokoni pale. If you want to advise with us, if you want to advertise with us, please contact us. You can send me an inbox or you can call me on 0731027727 tuweze kuongelea biashara inakwaje. Hayo ni mambo ambapo ilivyo pale madukani. Acha niwasalimie watu kidogo pia ambao naona wameamka tayari, alafu tufunge jioni aje. Robert Bungu wenyewe wa Siata Mall, huyu kijana wangu huyu anasema good chat right there. Regards to Saherik, tell him the goals are spoken and we now have Justin Muturi ama kuje tumpe shamba Nyanza. Yeah. Azama the gozo mukuruwe what? Nisikia mukuruwe ni what?
Mukuruwe wa Nyagadhanga.
Mukuruwe wa Nyagadhanga. Nimeona mtu wa maziwa wa area.
No, mukuruwe is a tree. Okay? Is a fig tree. And then you have Nyagadhanga is a bird. So in that area you would have that bird, and you know the fig tree has got a number of there are very many species. So where the Kikuyus did not find the Mugumo, they would pick the Mukurwe. Those were the sacred trees. If you look at if you go to southern Ethiopia, southwestern and southeastern Ethiopia, our brothers, the people who speak the Borana language or the Oromo, one of the trees they use, the sacred tree, the one that really keeps a lot of shade and remains green forever, is also the tree that the Kikuyus also use for ceremonies. So you can't do ceremonies.
Ile nilianguka Kiriambu.
Hiyo ni Mugumo. Yes, so when
Mugumo, there's a difference between Mugumo and victory.
No, victory is Mugumo per se. Then the other Mukurwe, there are some people who still call it fig tree, but per se is not a fig tree. Okay. Yes, it has a different name. I think some people call it the sycamore, others they still call it there are some areas in.
So sycamore ile sakaya alikuwa ameipanda.
So then the Gikuyu consider that tree to be sacred. Okay. And that is why you are seeing a lot of funeral going on in there. Of course, there are ceremonies I expected to see, I didn't see. You know, to become a Gikuyu elder of the grade 4. That is the so-called the ruler or the ruler elder, the ones who have who are members of the national order of priesthood, the ones who can conduct even religious ceremonies. You have to denounce your own ethnicity. We talk. Yes, you must publicly denounce your own ethnicity. Wow. So most of them, what the so-called people walking around in Kikuyu land calling themselves elders, have a big problem, because after giving the elders one fee, which is the fee of the first feast of goats to the elders, they become apprentices. You know, you're not even supposed to participate. I personally cannot participate in the affairs in the assembly of the council unless I'm invited, because I'm a junior elder grade 1. I'm still learning. When I give the second fee, I will become again junior elder grade 2. My attendance to the assemblies of the council is optional, unless there is a debate on me in issue. I can only take you to a dowry negotiation to talk about your neighbor's boundary, but I cannot conduct a religious ceremony or even
political
cleanse. Yes, I cannot even confer the power of leadership of Adhamaki, what they call the Adhamaki, the leaders. You know? and I cannot. You would only do that when you are elder grade 3. And that elder grade 3, that means to attend that assembly, you have to have your child who is initiated. Your first son should have gone through initiation, or your first daughter. So ask.
Daughter Tana.
Yes, I mean, we said, you remember we talked with Gige here. Culture can be amended. There was an amendment to that culture.
To have a different initiation.
I believe so, even among our brothers, the Kalejin. You remember, how did Lina Jebi Kilimo get to the national limelight? She was fighting FGM. And to that extent, we've succeeded largely in many communities to stop that, which is a good thing. Of course, sometimes it has its own negatives and repercussions, but we'll deal with those. So some of the things, part of the reason why you are seeing that there wasn't a bit of concurrence is that you cannot use, you see the Mukuruya and the Nyagathanga is the shrine of the Agikuyu. The Embu people have their shrine.
Okay.
The Bere people have their shrine.
The
Meru people have their shrine. So when these people are supposed to come together, the 4 communities, call them essentially, even among the Merus, they are also sub-communities. But fortunately for them, they have one shrine for the Jorin Cheke. Now, when the 4 communities want to come together and conduct a ceremony, it's never conducted in any of the shrines of one of the ethnic groups. It's actually conducted in Mount Kenya, or around Mount Kenya. Actually, at the eastern slopes towards Chuka, that's where the ceremony is conducted.
So you're discrediting
I am not discrediting it, because I heard from those who are saying that they say they did not go to crown anybody. I think they realized the mistakes they made, so they said they went to pray. So to that extent, there is no problem. I can as well, if I'm allowed.
No, you guys, you are jumping. You are recurring Muturi after Muturi fasting for 8 days.
Listen, Bito. You see, I've said I'm an elder, a junior elder, grade 1. I am incapable of performing the ceremonies that are supposed to be conducted. Many of the people I saw there, I have never even seen them in the register of the National Order of Priesthood of those who have gone to grade 3. Grade 3 is a very serious issue, to go to grade 3. Even when President Uhuru Kenyatta was crowned as a Kikuyu elder, I remember very well, and even what he wore, and what he was given, the ornaments he was given, and the vestiges of authority and power, one did not belong to grade 3. He was actually given grade 2. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so meaning that to go to grade 3, there are other things he ought to have done, which haven't been done. So that is why you could see, because of people raising those issues, then there was, of course, a feeling by one side that, okay, let's put it properly, that which we said. In any case, I have told you, you wouldn't conduct, I mean, if you're talking of the 4 communities, the Abere, the Agikuyu, the Embu, and the Ameru, those are the proper names of the communities. The Agikuyu, the Ameru, the Embu, and the Abere. You do not conduct that ceremony in the shrine of one community. You conduct the ceremony in the eastern slopes towards Chuka. That's
a neutral place.
Yeah, and you see what you may want to ask the reason why.
Why?
Among the Meru subgroups, the Chuka are the closest to Kikuyu in language. Yes, actually for a long time.
So Chukas are also Merus. Chukas are Merus.
Yes, but for a long time they've not read the Meru Bible, they've used the Kikuyu one. So the Embu too, the Bere too. There is the proximity of languages. So, and then you also have to ask yourself, as far as I'm concerned, Muturi belongs to the Damata clan of the Abere. I saw a lot of people.
Is Ambere?
Yes.
Is he Ambere or Embu?
Abere. I saw a lot of people writing, and I would ask them, do you know the difference between the Damata and the Murori? And which among the two of the Damata and the Murori clans of the Bere, which one partakes of the Gikuyu cultural and sacred ceremonies? And you have a lot of hula barou, because fellows don't know. As I've said before, I'm doing research on a book which I'm writing pole. So this information I have gathered also from the elders directly, and they will tell you that maybe that's why I've had, after some quarrels and some arguments, there has been a series of amendments. But it's okay for him. It's okay. I didn't hear what I know is that somebody even commented and said, again, what he was clothed with is again the ornaments and the vestiges of elder grade 2. So if you are crowned with the elder grade 2, then in terms, even if it is cultural, then that means you've not assumed the power to speak for the Agikuyu. To speak for the Agikuyu, you have to have reached grade 3 and above. And grade 3 is a very serious business.
Diwanze kuzungumza. And
if you see, if you remember during there were times Moi brought in something called Gema Kamatusa, where the Kalenjin, the Maasai, the Turkana, and the Samburu, and the Gema people decided, because of the issues they had, to sit together and come together. If some of our young people would reflect, and some of our so-called elders would reflect and go back, they would know what was the qualification to be part of the Gema Kamatusa. Then they would actually understand that going to conduct ceremonies, sometimes, actually, for me, it is not Muturi I have a problem with. He's fine, and actually it is true. After Uhuru Kenyatta, he's the most senior in terms of government authority. He's the second senior most in the entire Mount Kenya region. That's a fact.
So after Uhuru is the first.
He's the second.
After Uhuru, he'll become the first.
Well, I don't know. You know that is a decision to be made by the citizens who vote.
Okay.
But to con him, because I have no problem with him. I have a problem with those who organize the ceremony. Because from what I saw them doing, and what I know, and what has been explained to me by the elders of what happens to become grade 3, I did not see the white snow called Ira in Kikuyu being produced there. I didn't. And you see, the reason why there was always a good association between the Gikuyu communities, and you see the Chuka in the eastern slopes, there is snow from their side, the Nyeri side. So Ira, the white substance that comes from the snow around the mountain, was actually a preserve of the Nyeri Agikuyu. Okay? And the Chuka in Meru. You see the significance. Okay. And that's why those ceremonies would be conducted in neutral grounds where you want to crown. In other words, if you are being accepted by all the 4 communities, that you can actually conduct religious ceremonies, you can cleanse people, you can cleanse the land, you can negotiate peace with other ethnic groups. Yes, if you now want, I know what they intended to achieve. When you are crowned elder grade 3 and above, then you get the mandate to even talk peace between communities. That means you can even negotiate politically on behalf of the community. But you don't achieve that by purporting to exclude some people from the ceremony. In fact, the ceremony ought to be very inclusive. We ought to have seen him first go through the ceremony with his own clan among the Damata in Bere. The Damata then would bring ask the Agikuyu to give him a mentor, to mentor him for the period required in their culture. We would expect the Ameru during Cheke to also appoint a mentor for him, again to go through that ceremony, and then they can finally get together. Whichever shrine they select, ordinarily should be a neutral ground. Okay. But for me, my problem is not with him. It's okay. He's right. He deserves it because he's also not a young person. But the way it was done, and whoever was doing it, I have not seen them. I have not seen them being part of the elders. We call them the elders grade 4. Athuri Amatura Guru. I have not seen them in
Athuri Amatura Guru.
I have not seen them in that category, and those are very few, because even the so-called chairman of Council of Elders among the Agikuyu, none of them is, because the one who was in that group died. Yes, and I remember the president also mourning him, even the deputy president, because he had gotten to that level. Okay.
All right, so what should you expect? Because I've seen also Waiguru has come in, Gan's blessing, and she's also resisting that ceremony. Mwangwa area, passionately.
I have told you.
So what do you expect as we move
forward? The reason why it's being resisted is I have explained to you that whereas these are brothers and cousins, the 4 communities, each of them has its own shrine and its own ceremonies. the ceremonies have got a lot of similarities, we talk. Okay? The same way you would expect, because of language and culture, the Tugen to have a similarity with the Nandi.
Yeah, sure.
The Kipsigis to have similarity with the Marakwet. But it doesn't mean that the Kokwet of the Marakwet should then be subsumed by the Kokwet of the Nandi. Does it follow that way? You need to recognize that the other people also have their ceremony.
Yes.
And if they came together, then they would...
And you cannot purport to have spoken for all of them.
Yes, you cannot purport to have spoken for all of them. To speak to for all of them, there is a requirement, there are requirements. And these requirements are, first, the Honorable Muturi would have started with his own Damata clan among the Bere. We ought to have seen the Damata, and I have explained. The Damata then would have appointed, would have requested the Kikuyu to appoint for him somebody we call... when you are being initiated, they call the person who holds you is called a Mutiri. When you are being initiated as an elder of grade 3 and above, you get somebody called a Mushuha, somebody to hold your hand. That's a mentor. Now, who was mentoring him among his own clansmen in the Damata? Did we get the name?
No.
And do you know why the name must be announced publicly? Because if that elder is known to have engaged in something that is abominable among the community, the whole ceremony is useless. That is why your name and the number of days which you must wait for the communities to give their views is not even 8. 8 is seclusion. The other 40, its total is 40 days. And the 40 days, the 32, you must go through that process of your own clan saying, okay, you see, the Bere already have 2 major clans. So first, he's consecrated by his own, which I believe he has. But then they ought to say, this is our son. We are giving him to the entire Bere. You get?
Yes.
They first give him to the entire Bere.
So it's not his own clan?
Yes.
They give him not the entire Bere.
Then the Bere elders, now from the 2 sub-clans, from the Damata and the Murori, would come together and then ask the Merus that please give us a mentor for our son who aspires also to rise to 3rd grade and above in your community. That would happen. Then they would approach the Agikoyo. Then
now the Bere and the Ameru approach the Agikoyo.
No, the Bere. Okay. Remember, he's a Bere son.
Okay.
They would tell them, our brothers, we intend to have our son also ascend to the level of Adhamaki, the leader, okay, the spokesman, the peacemaker, okay, the priest, because by that level you get into the national order of priesthood. Then the Kikuyus would appoint for him a mentor. Again, he would go through the process. And again, they would have to wait for the requisite period for people to make their suggestions and say whether he qualifies to be that. Once the 4 communities, you remember it is the Bere asking. Then the Bere would go to their cousins, to their brothers, the Embu, who have also another council of elders called Nyangi Diri.
Nyangi Diri.
Yeah, it's not the same. You know, contrary to, I like to speak from a point of information and knowledge. Nyangi Diri is a totally different group from the Bere group. It is for the Embu. Then the Embu would, because for them the language is even closer, it would even be faster. They would even be faster for them. Then I would say they would approach the Ameru, they would approach the Agikoyo. Once that is done, I have told you that if he was crowned elder grade 3, he has power and authority and responsibility not only to speak for his Damata clan among the Bere, he can speak for the Bere, he can speak for the
Emeru,
and for the Agikoyo. If he goes through those ceremonies. But you see, because some people think they know it all and they want to impose on everybody, that's why they bring him and con him, and then at the end of the ceremony, adorn him with the vestiges of elder grade 2. I mean, really, you know, that's actually like conmanship. It's like you're conning him. Yes, you're conning him. You see, the former president, the late President Moi, was crowned a Gikuyu elder of the Aboy clan, okay, in Kiambu. Yes, and you know, I follow this because I follow who has been crowned.
So he got into grade what now?
Yes. No,
Moi.
President Moi was crowned grade 2.
Okay.
And he was not escorted to Kiambu only by Gikuyu elders. He was also escorted by his own elders from the Kalenjin and mainly the Tugen where he came from. And then you also have William Ruto, Deputy President William Ruto was also adorned. And he was crowned grade 2. And I have said that grade 2 elder is entitled to even make oral presentations in the assemblies of the council. But he cannot conduct religious ceremonies. Because to go to grade 3, he would be required to perform a ceremony to disown his Kalenjin community. And it is only, there are very few people who ever did that, but some did. You know, there is a Masai Laibon who is of Kikuyu origin, and Batian, and he left. So he left his people in Kikuyu land as a medicine man. When he went to Masai land, he denounced his own Kikuyu community completely. Yes.
And he became a Maasai.
And he became a Maasai. The same way, among the Kikuyus, you have names of Kikuyus with Maasai names. Daraya, Garoya. Where did they get these names? Mboke, which is Mpoke. Where do they get? You completely denounce your other ethnic group. And then these people adopt you. So it's not that easy, and it is not, I would have wished it is done properly for Muturi, Honorable Muturi as an elder. Because he is a good man, he's done his part for the country, and if it is done properly, that opposition you are getting, imagine it will not be there. Geisha, because everybody would then be involved. Remember, the cultural leadership and the political leadership are two distinct things. Okay. They are two distinct things. But when some people confuse them, but if you have both political power, you have political power, and then you have also the you also have the cultural power. You now can speak for the community. And why was the apprentice to grade 3 ever conducted for Uhuru Kenyatta, for President Uhuru Kenyatta? You remember when the late Honorable Michuki stood somewhere in Murang'a and said, if you want to negotiate with us,
you must negotiate through Uhuru Kenyatta.
Uhuru Kenyatta. The people who are taking Honorable Muturi this should have gone back to history and asked themselves, then what happened after the Honorable Michuki said that? How did the Honorable Kenyatta become accepted to speak for the Kikuyu in Nyeri, Murang'a, Kiambu, Nakuru? How did that happen? And a series of things happened. A series of things happened. And after that, then he assumed two types of leadership, political and cultural. Political and cultural. And this is why even today, nobody, even among the elders, forget about that he is president. They don't dare him because they know, because they crowned him. Yes. Okay. You remember it? You remember there was the rigmarole in Rift Valley during either the crowning of the senator for Baringo,
of Gideon or William.
And the question was the elders in that clan, you know, in the priesthood of the Nande, were they also going to crown another
leader, another spokesperson?
Because I believe, and from what I have read, I don't know much about the Nande and the Kalenjin, but from what I have read, that there is also graduation among the elder class. And once you are crowned at a certain level, you cannot be 3 or 5 of you. Yes.
Okay, so is it true then that also Kenyatta Senior was a Maasai? Just stories have
not
come.
Really.
Okay. Where did that story come from?
What I would tell you is this: as a lot of Kikuyus have Maasai heritage, and there is a reason why this is easy to explain. That the Kikuyus believe, even up to today, that you can become one of our own bitok. Yes.
Okay.
You know how you become one of our own?
How?
The way you become,
I want to become.
If you want to become one of our own, we will take you the ceremony where they say Ushiarona Buri. I mean, it's like you being reincarnated or being birthed as a member of that community. So you must take an oath that first you've become a Kikuyu. You've become
a Kikuyu.
So you cannot kill a Kikuyu. Now, the person who takes you through that ceremony, if the person who adopts you into Kikuyu land, then you must also take them to the Kalenjin and make them a Kalenjin. In other words, if he were to kill you, he would be killing a Kikuyu. If you were to kill him, you would be killing a fellow Kalenjin.
So the person who is adopting me in Kikuyu has to go to Kalenjin land.
Yes, you must also adopt him
and become a Kalenjin.
Because how then would you see he's giving you brotherhood? So how does he become your brother? And how do you get tied together and yoked up together? If you can go back and take a Kalenjin oath and kill him. If you see, once you take him through the Kalenjin ceremony of adoption, he becomes your brother.
Yeah.
Can you kill him?
No.
If he takes you through the Kikuyu one, do you kill him? You see, if he were to kill you, he's taken you through the Kikuyu culture. He would he would become banished from Kikuyu land. So that was the process, and that's why you find a lot of Kikuyus having a lot of Maasai names, and a lot of Maasais having names. If you ask the Maasais where they got the name Kamwaro, they perhaps will not explain to you. Okay, but the other Kamwaros, you will find a very big group in Mathera.
They were like Kamwaros.
Yes, you will find them in Embu. You get, because it's through those adoptive processes. So once you become part of that community, then they would begin to learn the language. Okay. And most of them, the ones who got adopted that way, I mean, they speak. If you ask, where did the so-called minorities in central Kenya go? All the minorities were actually adopted that way by the Kikuyu. Yes.
And they became Kikuyus.
Yeah, they became Kikuyus. And that's how the community, contrary to a lot of people, they don't know, that's how Kikuyus became very large. Because they
assimilated as small tribes.
Assimilated. And they do it the process is very easy. And the way they would assimilate, for example, the Maasai, if you ask proper Kikuyu in their folklore, who are the Maasai? To them, the Kwavi are the Maasai, because those are the ones who would refuse to be adopted by them. The Kikuyus have never considered the Ilgwesi pure Maasai. No, because they would adopt them. I mean, today I tell people, you go to Nyeri, you will find names like Narumoro, Burguret, Lamuria, and Darasha. So where did the Maasais were there go? And that is why I say it's very difficult for some of us to talk about purity.
In terms of tribe.
In terms of
pure ethnicity.
Yes, because anytime I go backwards, I find in my family that
there's a mix.
I ask my relatives, and they would say, yes, this man was called Mpoke. I mean, definitely that means in your family. I hear my elders call my father Wakareu. Then I ask, this Kareu name, wow, he came from Mukavi. You know, once you are told that, then you of course know that there is Maasai heritage. The fact that people then are speaking Kikuyu language doesn't mean that they are basically all pure Maasai. So Kenyatta too, you know, but it's not secret. The same family of the Kenyattas, the Muigai clan, they want to go to Narok and pay dowry. So how did Kenyatta become a Maasai? Kenyatta became a Maasai because his own grandmother, that is the great-grandmother of the current president, was taken from, Nyokafi was taken from Maasai during a raid and brought to Kiambu. Okay? And she got married to, you know, they say the person, it is Muigai, who this is now Uhuru. That's why he is the one to go and pay. Because his own grandfather
is like his grandfather.
Yes.
So he's going to pay that with the wife.
Yes, because they never paid, because they took the child through force. You can see now how a lot of Kikuyus have Maasai heritage. Because once you come in, everywhere, you will hardly find the name Nyokafi in Muranga, because you see Muranga were in the center, in the central Kikuyu. But
so
if
they
you
didn't
go to
get
Nyeri,
so infiltrated as much.
If you go to Nyeri, the Laikipia Maasai were there. So the exchange was a lot, okay?
Okay.
In the southern Kikuyu, that is Kiabu, they also had their neighbors, the Maasai, in Narok and Kajiado. So there was a lot of interaction. So that's why you find, you remember there was a time we had two women reps. We had a Honorable Nyokavi in Nyeri and a Honorable Nyokavi from Kiambu. That should tell you by the name that person has Maasai origin. And the reason why she has that name is that somewhere along the way, if you came and you are a girl and they married you, the only name they could give you is Nyokavi. So we have very many in the both extremes of Kikuyu land. And so Kenyatta, you wouldn't say that Jomo Kenyatta did not have Maasai blood. He had it because by the virtue
the grandmother.
Yes.
Okay.
And so even the current president still has the same heritage. Although it is maternal, we know we consider paternal, but either way,
there's still some blood.
And you remember then how did Jomo Kenyatta end up going to his relatives in Maasai land? Is when there was conscription by the British during the Second World War. The easiest way to hide the child was that Whereas the British wanted to get a lot of people from Kikuyu land, they considered Masai very hostile territory. They were not going there to ask for people to volunteer. So they took him there. His relatives told him, you go to your relatives and stay there for some time. Why would you want to imagine that the times he stayed there, he would not learn the language? He learned the language. We had the late William Olentimama going to Kaideri in Meru, going to Kaideri, all the way to look for his own relatives. Okay? Because Intimama by itself is not a Masai word. Intimama in Kimeru means I can't sleep.
I can't sleep.
Yes, Intimama. Yes, it means I'm insomniac.
So he's a Meru.
So he has Meru heritage on his maternal side.
There's another Kikuyu elder again in Kiambu or something. I think he was a former. So he spoke in about it, and they were speaking for the Kikuyus. I don't know what's the name of that guy. I'm trying to remember. Some guy with a Masai name from Kiambu.
Yes.
I don't even remember that guy. I think he was a former speaker somewhere.
This is what I want to tell you, that among the Agikuyu, you know that among the Agikuyu you don't kill a Masai unless it is in a war. No. You don't. No.
You might end up killing your own brother.
You might kill your... Who would you be killing? I mean, you see, I have told you what the Gikuyu would do is that for them, anybody they found in their community did not have a name. They gave him a name and
assimilated.
Yes. That is how the Kalejins were said to have been from Kinale Forest. Yeah. In the western regions of Trivali, of the Aberdares. That's how they disappeared. Yes.
They became Gikuyu.
They became Kikuyus.
So even the Kalenjin Kikuyus in Kikuyu.
Yes, because you see the adoption process was such that
even the Kalenjins of Nanyuki, like Kipia.
Yes, how they would do it. They would make sure first you adopt one side and then you go to the other side. That means you take solemn oaths that you cannot murder your brother. So you are also telling your Kalenjin brothers that, look, this one has become our brother, my brother, and therefore our kinsman. Yes, and that is how these communities coexisted for a very long time.
Alright. Haya, tunataka kwenye biashara ya siku. Ona Joel Kibera kwa sababu good morning YouTube, watu wa YouTube, good morning. Amada Ngutu, good morning watching from Kitengela. Thank you so much. Katrin Nyaboke, good morning watching from Nairobi. I really appreciate. Send Hayop, good morning from Westlands. Thank you, good to see you. Mauka Dante, no peu. Haya, no peu. Haya. Joseph Katutura, na kuona asante sana. Thank you so much. Is it Kathura? Sorry. Joseph Kathura. Kama nimesikia mugithi mingi sana. Magadutura. Anyway, I think they have also been assimilated. Okay. Robert Burugu, sasa umesikia mambo ya Kikuyu culture. When ulianzisha Manotieno, you might call from CBD Matelong Jackson Great from Toronto, Canada. Good to see you, my brother. Moses B. Cherub, good morning. Good morning to Fidel Mosh, good morning. Cherungus Willie, good morning. Bro watching from Goktown. Anita Chesire, good morning. Good morning to Anita. Aska Mebu, good morning. Kenyan Tenant is watching from Calgary, Alberta. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Kenyan Tenant from Calgary, Alberta. Good to see you, Aska. Jared Rono, crew mwenye asema Jared Rono, login from Wasingishu County. Dio, asante sana. Good to see you. Kadoki wa Masi, Mheshimiwa GB, I'm watching from Kayole. All Nyeri County people should tune into the Tackle program. Asante sana. Kadoki, Sheriff Drinkwater anasema yuko ndani kabisa. James Mutira, good morning. Peter watching from Sentiko Milikoni, Mombasa. Nashukuru. Abraham Brono, tuned in from Lakeside. Kabon Sara in Eldoret writing notes. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Farid Faraji, this is more than eye-opener for politics in Central Kenya. Asante sana, Brian. Good morning. Farid Faraji, the People's Empowerment Party is a member and stakeholder in the Aslan Nation alongside Johnson Mudhama led UDA, Mwangi Kinjuri led TSP, and Omingo Magara led PDP. We have a platform political participation and mentorship in leadership for a new crop of leaders and professionals whom we believe will drive this country forward, safeguarding our nationhood and make our people safe and secure, confidence in our future and that of our children. Whereas PEP is driven by ordinary men and women, mostly of the youth, our sisters, but the UDA is largely driven by my colleagues, the incumbent MPs who I respect a lot, but complement each other. Best message of hope and renewal has been endorsed by the voters of Kadhu. Is it Kadhuri? What? Hey! Nini mrefu sana sijui nani ameandika Moses Kuria. Anyway, thank you. Asante sana. Hiyo ni statement, press statement ya Moses Kuria. Itabidi amelipia ndio afanye press statement vizuri. Anyway, acha tuangalie mambo. Now I saw you saw what happened in Lamu the other day. Yes. There's a Kenyan who showed up with an ID.
Yes.
And he was almost laughing at President Uhuru Kenyatta, decrying the lack of employment. What do you make of that?
Yeah, Bitok, there is a problem in our country. And the problem is the disconnect between the leadership and the people. The difference is very wide. And you know what we call servant leadership? We have got people who get into power. And I'm not talking just about the presidency. Sometimes I will quote also the president of Marawi, Chakwera. He has said that the people should not expect him to solve all the problems. Okay? Remember, he's a reverend, or he's a church minister.
Yes.
And so he really feels for it. But we know, let us, even before we get to President Uhuru Kenyatta, or even to the deputy president, or even to the people at the national level, the national government, let's first ask ourselves, where that young person came from. Is there an MCA? Yes, isn't it? There is a member of parliament. There is a senator. There is a woman rep. There is a deputy governor. There is a governor. There is a senator. Can I ask you a question, Bitok? How easy do you think it is for any citizen of this country to approach any of those leaders at the local level? Is it possible?
No, it's not. I think it's difficult.
It's virtually possible. This is now the problem we have in this country. That everybody, and in Africa in general, everybody begins to appeal to the highest level of leadership. When we talk about political power, we're talking about the power to make policy and legislation and the power to influence the allocation of resources. Would the president be involved in the allocation of resources to Lamu? That's at the Senate level. Has the leadership in Lamu demonstrated that they have taken cognizance that they are what you call local sensibilities? Sensibilities. And the answer, of course, we know is no. And that is why then you have the people appealing to the president. And I really sympathize, and I want to say this, Bitok, I really sympathize with our young generation. Because if the people can't go to the leader must go to the people at every level. And we know that. The reason I like to highlight this, I have a friend from, I think he's from Kericho, Bomet, Chirchir Taribo.
Taribo, MCA.
Yes, he's an MCA. You know, I like to focus on people I see because we've never met physically, but he's been my friend for a very long time in Facebook. And I have interacted. Why do I know his name? Because I've interacted with Taribo before he was elected. And I used to see the things he would do. Okay? And even today, he may not know. If you know him, you tell him. I really follow to see what
he's my friend. He's Paul Chirchir Taribo.
Yeah. Ask him, tell him there are people who follow what he does because there are promises he made. I am saying this because if Taribo succeeds in his ward in Kericho, and my MCA in where I live succeeds, then we have a combination of successes at every corner of the nation. That's why I wish him success. Just like I wish Kiruga Dhuku, the other MCA, who is also my friend. There are others who fallen along the way. Samora Maura, I no longer see him. I know he was elected. Those are people I got to meet through social media, and I would encourage them. And I'm always, you've heard me encouraging Ojwang also. Because I believe that if we get the right people and in the right positions, why do I talk of Taribo? Because even today, I still see him posting and explaining the small things he's doing. He's raised an issue which yesterday, which I may not tell him, but he's struck a nerve, which is very close to my heart. The issue of reparation of the lands that were expropriated forcibly from the African people by the British. He talked about the 25,000 acres of land owned by multinationals in South Rift. Okay? In the same way, I got into a lot of trouble when in 2017, I spoke about the Laikipia Plateau. And the Laikipia Plateau, if you go to Nyeri today, there is Solio Ranch. It's in Nyeri, Laikipia. Then you have got Lewa in Meru. Then you have got parts of that in Nyandarua. And this is a question, Beto, we will have to deal with. Landlessness in those regions. Because we cannot have our brothers, the Kipsigis, continuing to squeeze into small areas, whereas land that traditionally
was there
by heritage belongs to them. We cannot have the Kikuyu continuing to clash with the Maasai in Laikipia over a land that can no longer support life, whereas a lot of that land is held by foreigners in the name of leases, which never expire. You see why I follow that kind of leadership?
Yes.
Because I would want, the moment he gets a solution for that region in Rift Valley, we might as well get a solution in another. Because
Other regions.
if you are moving from Nanyuki, for example, Bitok, and you want to cross to Nyahururu, you know you have to come back towards Kiganjo. Back, actually literally drive back, then to Nyeri and then drive. But sometimes you may find that the owner of Solio Ranch will open the road to cross the road there, ranch. The ranch which they came carrying on their shoulders from Europe.
No.
Did they come carrying that lad on their shoulders from Europe?
No.
Do we Africans go and claim their ancestral lads in Europe?
No.
Those are now why you understand I follow people like Taribo, because I would want them to provide. I'm not a politician. I am a lawyer, but I know that if we get it right, if we get the right people who ask the right questions and focus on the legitimate concerns of the people, we'll get somewhere. And this is the trouble now, what we saw in Lamu, that person, suppose Bitok, that gentleman was able to approach his MCA and discuss this issue. You think he would have gone to be skirmishing to approach the president? No. And I'm being very candid because I know. I have seen people. I have seen old women. I remember one who wrote letters to the DOs, to the DCs over her lad, which was grabbed somewhere in Nyeri. And finally, she decided to do it for when former president, the late President Moi, was in power. She decided to go to a public rally where he was and said, kill me or not, I will go and tell him. And that is the only way her issue was resolved. Yeah. Should it be happening that way? Should it that ordinary people should be asking to see the president to resolve small issues like this? We've got the national government tried kazi kwa vijana, kazi mtaani, isn't it? Are you telling me that the counties which are receiving, county of Lamu per capita is one of the counties that is receiving a lot of money per individual, per citizen, because the population is low, but they have a large area. If in 5 years, one citizen there is getting 16,000, that there is an allocation of 80,000 to that person. Has he felt it? The reason why he has that anger is because he's not felt the leadership at the local level. At the ground. At the ground. And this is something I would want our people to really think about. That if we have people who are unapproachable, people who don't care at the local level, at the MCA level, then you springboard that to the MP level, women rep level, the senator level, then you will have big problems for the national government. Yes. So it is something very sad, and it shouldn't be happening. I should be able to get a resolution. Equally in the bureaucracy, as I've explained, if somebody had an issue of land, the chief, the assistant county commissioner, deputy county commissioner should step in even before the county commissioner comes in and liaise with the local leadership so that there is a question of the governance and bureaucracy, administration and representation. Those are two different things. The MCA provides political direction and representation. The chiefs and the people below and the assistant county commissioner provide what is called the bureaucratic and administrative solutions and power. Okay. So that even where, for example, an MCA wanted a security solution, who would he have to work with? Again, the same people. Okay. And this is why when people are told, let's have a cohesion in the way we are doing things, in the national government administration and the devolved units, these problems, Bitok, would go down considerably. They would go down considerably. But they are not going down because we have a very bad culture of people who get elected in this country. We've talked about it here. When you get elected and you get a vehicle and an escort car, instead of helping the people, what do we see them in Ngong Road? They are pushing us out of the... They're
pushing us off the road.
Off the road because of arrogance. Instead of knowing that now people are stuck. People are stuck. Perhaps because you have power, you should call the police officer at the city mortuary roundabout and the other ones at the lights here near and tell them, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we need to clear this road so that everybody can pass. But you don't go, and that is now what you call leadership that is responsive and responsible. That's what we are lacking in this country. If we get that, we'll go somewhere. Even when people are told about the bottom up, What you're being told is not that you disregard somebody with some money. Is that you need to listen to the individual at the lowest level of society, because he also has something meaningful, and it is his right to tell you something. But this is what some of the people elected in our country don't think. They actually want to behave like the bureaucrats. The bureaucrat owes no, apart from his employer, which is the state, the bureaucrat owes no responsiveness and responsibility to the citizens most of the time. But you, as a person who is a political leader and an elected representative, you owe it to always legitimately represent the views and the aspirations of the people.
Okay. All right. Another thing, you're a security expert. Bashir disappears.
Yes.
A shell is found in Gibiko forest.
Yes.
The police come, they look at it. They go back, so you're going back to the station, all of them, they go. Then suddenly the shell has disappeared. They have come and said there's no shell. Then the body is found deep in Murang. Is it
In
Mwea?
Yeah, you've described what is called perfect murders.
And it looks like these days when we hear captain has disappeared, we should only get it to bury him.
Yeah, you get, that's a perfect
Murder.
Okay. We say in crime, there are no perfect murders, also being a former prosecutor, but I will tell you this is a perfect murder. So first, the vehicle, that is the vessel that was used to convey him, or to move with him, is found in Kiviko, in Gong. Okay? And you know Gong has a terrible history of murders. We lost a lady, the late Wabua, from the National Land Commission. She also died around the same place. Right from you remember the days of JM. Why do people like to take bodies to Gong? For a long time, because it was considered Gong, there would be hyenas to do the rest of the rest. Now, why do I call it a perfect murder? And so that you understand where I'm coming from. Once you get to a scene of crime, the first thing you do is sequestrate. Sequestrate the scene of crime. Actually, you stop anybody who is not uninterested or who is not concerned with the whole business of investigation from accessing the scene of crime. That's called what is called the sequestration of crime scenes. Okay? You can also, even if you found people who are considered to be suspects or people of interest, okay, POI, persons of interest relating to the crime, what do you do them? You put them in custody. Again, in criminal investigation, we call you quarantine the people. In other words, you're preventing them from continuing to have contact with the possible witnesses or the scene of crime. So what that means, when the first police party went to Kiviko, it means that, number one, the people who went there are not experts in scenes of crime. They're not experts in scenes of crime. They're not even experts in what you call forensic biotics. In other words, they cannot take.
But is that not basic training for a police officer?
No, it's not. It's not. Okay. It's not BTOC, unfortunately.
Like securing a crime scene.
Yeah, so that is basic. That is basic. Okay. So there shouldn't. In fact, the crime scene should have left unattended. That's number one.
Okay.
But you never know, and this is now where I want to get to. So who makes it possible to leave a crime scene unattended? It means that there must have been a countermanding order. A countermanding order. Withdraw. Okay. You do what?
Withdraw.
You withdraw. Now, when you withdraw, then you give you give opportunity for somebody to then compromise, okay, or for somebody now to interfere with the scene of crime. And how was it interfered with? The moment you burn, fire itself. Fire itself.
It's a destroyer of evidence.
Is destruction. So you are destroying evidence. You are destroying
evidence.
Who would know? Who would know? Who are the likely people to know that a scene of crime needs to be destroyed so that you cannot collect forensic evidence? Who are the likely people to know?
No, I don't want to mention, but you can mention.
Yes, we can leave it to people to.
Yes.
So unless it is people who are involved, okay, I am saying that because I have had the advantage of being a prosecutor, public prosecutor. So I understand the things we would do to ensure that you safeguard evidence. But the moment you have interference on a scene of crime, Okay, we already say that there is contamination of evidence. Contamination of evidence. But in this case, there was not even contamination. We went to destruction.
Destruction of evidence.
Yes. And we went to destruction, which makes sure that even if you now go there with the biological, can you even detect?
There's nothing to collect.
There's nothing to collect because the scene of crime has not just been contaminated. It has been destroyed. You see the difference? That means in what we call evidential gathering, there is, you see, there is no linkage between where the vehicle was found, which perhaps ferried him to that point in Gong, and where the body was found. The link has been lost and destroyed forever. You've understood why that was done?
Yes.
Yes. And that should then tell you that this is the danger we are getting into. Okay. And this is what I want to talk about. The danger we are getting into, because you've seen we've had police officers who've been arrested for murder, and we have some on trial. It's very famous cases. This is a colleague of mine who died. We will not talk about it because the matter is still in court. But you see, perhaps the people involved did not have the knowledge I'm talking about of how to first contaminate and then destroy. Then you kill the chain of evidence. The chain of evidence. It's called the evidential trail. The evidential trail. Because once you find the body, you can go backwards and say the vehicle was found there. So what are the last contacts? Are there DNA material? Is there biological material which can be found at the scene? Did he make calls? Did people captured at the CCTV? But the moment then you destroy primary evidence, you completely kill the trail. Now, you can see the reason I'm talking about this is that it either means this, that we have got very sharp people who've left the security forces, the police, okay, and then are beginning to be involved in very serious crime, because those kind of people, you will not catch them, because they understand what needs to be done at every point. And number two, it also means that these people are powerful enough to countermand what are called the basic policing operations, like what we've said. That when a police officer, any police officer, and I urge our colleagues who are in the police services, when you find a scene of crime, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we know you are trained. I went with them through the military police corps training. I would attend those trainings because I was a prosecutor. And they would tell us, I would get the training from police officers. Okay. Recently, I was at the DCI training school where I completed again a full training with the certification. A whole, I think it was close to 4 months, because there were breaks in between, and tested and examined and passed. Where we're talking about how to manage basic crime things, basic crime procedures, and therefore these police officers, even at the lowest level. Okay, or anybody who's gone a bit of regimental training, even the guys in KWS, even in the Kenya Forest Service, they know when you find a scene of crime, to allow your colleague who is specialized to come and collect evidence, you sequestrate it, you preserve it, preservation of the scene. And you don't preserve the scene by moving away. You preserve it by giving 24-hour guard. That's why you carry a firearm in the name of the state. Because that firearm in the name of state, you don't carry little power around to go showing it to your girlfriends or to your boyfriends. You carry it to protect society. And I would urge them that when they get to such scenes of crime, please record and secure there, because that is the only way. Because either, then as I've said, either they are very powerful people who've got access to police training, who are doing these things, or you have got rogues in the law enforcement system itself. And remember, when I talk rogues in the law enforcement, I'm not just talking about police. Law enforcement, as I've said, involves prosecutors, it involves investigators, it involves specialists, a lot of people who can then advise, even including magistrates. Because a former magistrate, if you were to advise you how to destroy a crime scene, he would be an expert. He would be an expert almost at the same level as I.
Because he's the one who is, he knows the questions, he knows the questions, and he knows the procedure.
He knows what to destroy. So basically, that is my fear, that we are getting into a situation where you have what is called a state within a state. That's what you call a state within
a state.
A state. That there are people who can make decisions over life and death of fellow citizens outside the lawful state system.
There's something I want you to break down because it's something you mentioned, the disconnect between the crime scene and the operation of the police.
Yes.
Like, how would the police allow a crime scene to be vacant?
Yeah, it's because of what I have told you, that the person who knows that he needs to go back and destroy, not just contaminate, but destroy the scene, is powerful enough to countermand the operational orders of the local police commander.
Okay. So let me ask you, now in a normal situation, in a proper situation, what could have been the procedure?
Let me
Can you outline the procedure in a normal
tell
situation?
you the last investigation I had, which I conducted in Mombasa. I opened go-downs and containers on behalf of a state agency, leading the investigation with a colleague of mine. We were at the same level. And I had police officers, both from the DCI, actually from the 3 units, the DCI, I had from the AP who are attached to that law enforcement agency, and also from the regular police. And what would I do when I got there? Immediately you get to a scene of crime and you actually note that what we were looking for, there's chances that this would be found. What I would do is completely order to evacuate anybody who is not part of that operation out. Then I would get the managers, for example, of the go down and take an inventory. An inventory. And say, this is what has been found. This is what has been found. And since this is what has been found, it is signed by all parties. Then I would leave the regular police and tell them, in the interim, take charge of this scene before moving to the next. That means it is an armed guard. No, there is no entry. Then I would call people from the customs department and tell them seal using a seal. And then that seal, the number is also recorded by the owners of the go-downs. I'm sequestrating a crime scene. I leave and evacuate. I know regular police have other duties. Then I will go and negotiate with the then county commander who had given me the officers. And he will tell me, if you have officers, even from our sister services, you can get them. So I would then go back to the officers attached to that agency from the administration police, the SIPU, the Critical Infrastructure Protecting Unit. Remember them, they are not crime busters. Then I would tell them, you see the way the scene has been preserved. There will be a handover by the 2 officers from the regular police to them. These are the notes. We're giving you this. What am I doing that? I'm waiting because a signal will then be sent to the DCI to bring in scenes of crime.
Expert.
Scenes of crime. And again, cyber forensic experts from DCI. And I remember at one point we were debating, and the officers from the DCI told me, sir, we don't have the money. I was doing that as a law enforcement agency, officer for a government agency. So I called my bosses and told them, we cannot continue holding this scene forever. Please pay for the DCI officers. So actually that agency paid for the DCI officers to fly to Mombasa. Some drove overnight because of the equipment they were carrying, to then take the scenes of crime, to do to take the CCTVs, and then leave the scene.
So sometimes you also have to pay the DCI to work.
No, we are not paying them. We are facilitating. Okay. Because if they were to follow their chain, then the more days you spend, the more, you know what,
the more evidence you lose.
The more likely you're going to give opportunity to other people to destroy or contaminate evidence. So those officers were willing to come and work. But remember, they have to move. They need vehicles. When they come, that's not their station. They will need per diem to eat. They will need somewhere to sleep. So by the time the letters are written, let's, for example, from the Director General of an organization to the DCI says funds are allocated. Remember, these are not part of their normal operations. These are not part of their normal operation. This is ancillary duty. So then you would have convenes. And this is what I'm saying, that you see, I was doing that because I know. How did I know what to do? It's because, as I've said, I've gone through the basic DCI training. Okay, I've gone through other trainings, including intelligence. So I know what needs to be done. Our police officers know what needs to be done. But once they do it, then perhaps there is a person. Remember, I will deploy an AP inspector to give me officers to guard the scene. Suppose he is countermanded by an AIG of his service. Can he defy his superior? Can he defy his superior? The good thing is, when we were doing that work, we were multi-agency. So the DPP is there, the DCI is there, the NIS is there. So if anybody issues a countermanding order, in the following day in the meeting, as I lead the team, with the and I still then got an IIG seconded from the police. You see, if we are 3 people leading this investigation, whoever now countermards would have to take personal responsibility. And I want to say, because I know it happened, one of the officers from one of the agencies almost compromised and endangered everybody who was in that operation. And by the time we got back to Nairobi, he had been transferred from Mombasa County. Yes, that's how it works. And you see, the reason I'm saying this is because we are seeing too many of these things. And we need to take care. Why am I urging the police officers on the beat to be very careful with what they are doing? Because in future, you can see some people in the US who stayed in prison for 31 years. And DNA evidence is taken and they are not known to have been involved. And we've got now police officers who are old and retired being recalled and being jailed because they are the ones who ought to have done X, Y, Z and they did not do. So if you are the OCS, for example, in Gong, and you get a countermanding order telling you to withdraw officers, please make sure you record it somewhere. So because in future, Kenya will never be the same. Yes.
Itakurudia siku moja. Okay, so what could have been the procedure in this specific case?
Yes. You see, the moment the officers got there at the scene, this is a point of interest. Remember, we are talking of persons of interest and points of interest.
Okay.
This point of interest then must be sequestrated. Sequestration means you are shutting out everybody who is never involved in crime investigation. So you guard the scene. And I have said, if the OCS does not have officers to guard, then he could as well call the chief, sometimes have the administration police or the assistant county commissioner. And I have said what I wish to do. You get these ones relieving others and taking charge. You see, remember that scene I secured. There is a record. There is a record. If that area in Kefiko, you want to tell me there is no assistant chief. There is an assistant chief. There is an assistant chief. He ought the police, any OCS would want to call him and tell him, one assistant chief in area yako. Him is not a crime buster, but he can literally, he is a procedural witness. He can say, this is my area, I'm the sub chief here, and I saw this vehicle and I don't know it. And I don't know it. And we found it in this. So even during the crime investigation, him is what we call procedural witness, just to say that he was there when the police found the vehicle, because it's not the police that should be speaking of what remember there is the evidential trail. He's the one who he's the local area person, isn't it?
Yes.
So then from there, the police then would invite the local station commander would invite the experts have said scenes of crime
without leaving the scene.
Yes, ballistics, okay, and cyber. Because there might be things of interest. There could be cables there. There could be phones. You have to be very sure that everything is taken care of. If there is any CCTV, for example, that vehicle moved there. In Nairobi, you have CCTV. Who is going to download that? There is a C4, the 4 Cs, the command and control center of the police, isn't it? At the police headquarters. That's why I'm saying you definitely will also need cyber, because there will be evidential trail so that there can be what is the possibility of the route this vehicle used.
The movement.
Yeah, what is it and then there will be downloading of the cyber.
The way they did for Juma.
Yes, the way they did it for Juma. You're getting the point now. But the moment you saw somebody countermanded and so the OCS withdrew his officers, and I have said you create an opportunity for anybody who knows how to contaminate or to destroy a point of interest.
Okay, so where do you make, because now you mentioned about this evidence that we should have. We should be able to trace the movement of this person. Because when the CCTV coverage you are seeing is from Miale Hotel.
Yes.
It's an hotel. You're not being told where he left, he went where. We have cameras on the road. We have a camera on Convent. Yes. I think there's a camera on Convent Road. Yes. An exit Convent Road.
That should be from the forces.
Kingara Road. Yes. You know. So I mean, and the sleuths have come out quickly and said this guy has terrorist links, without giving us all these evidential trails of this person. I don't know what you make out of that.
What happens is what I have said, that if we have either a unit of law enforcement or even law enforcement officers, okay? Bitok, there is something we call in law enforcement, there is something we call irregulars. There is something we call irregulars. You know what an irregular is? An irregular is a person who is properly trained as a law enforcement officer. he is a police force officer, he's a law enforcement, he is a skilled investigator, or even a combatant, the ones who say to enter such seas and withdraw from even what you call deep level enemy penetration, where somebody can even stealthily, even either using cyber forensics or even using terrestrial, he can go physically. You know, there are commandos who go into the scenes and then after doing whatever he's doing, he extricates. Some of these people leave the service. They leave the service, quote unquote. Leave the service, quote and quote. But they remain appendages to the service. Appendages to the service. To the service. And they are, I don't want to get so much into it, but I know many states have used these irregulars. So the irregular, you can imagine an irregular who left, for example, the U.S. Air Force or the U.S. Army. He then joins the FBI. Remember, he's a combatant. Or he's been into the Rangers, the topmost of the American Army. He's been to the Marines. He's on all the courts. Then he goes to FBI. He's law enforcement. Does his work there. Then there is the ceremony to decommission him from the FBI. Then he's then hired as an irregular. He's hired as an irregular. What doesn't he know about combat and law enforcement? If you then do deep level enemy penetration and you put him deep inside enemy territory, you know, he can engage in combat, destroy evidence, contaminate scenes. See what I'm talking about? So I understand all these things. I'm alive to all these. Okay. Maybe it would be too deep for our viewers. Because
they're enjoying it, actually. And I think we cannot go deeper. We might go deeper, then it takes us into deep trouble.
Yes.
Anyway.
We will not get into that. But that is basically how those things go. Okay. That you have, either you have regulars who have turned rogue, or you have irregulars. The irregulars, you know why they are decommissioned and publicly? Because there is what we call plausible deniability. Because tomorrow, the head of the police, the head of the intelligence, the head of the crime investigators can deny and say that those are not my officers. They are appendages of his unit. But since they were decommissioned, even if they did something and they were identified, he will deny them because everybody publicly knows they were decommissioned. You understand what I mean by irregulars? So irregulars will behave and act just like the regulars because they know everything that needs to be done. Yes. Okay. And they are the best. If you want to destroy evidence, those are the best because even traceability is very difficult because they always operate off. Actually, they operate off the rails. They operate parallel but off the rails. You get the word we use in law enforcement. So that these guys operate parallel to the proper rails, but off the rails. Okay. So to get them is very difficult. And remember, some of them, for example, if they have such a appendage, and they were very senior, for example. For example, a retired AIG, he can call a station commander. The station commander he will tell him I'm so and so. Then he will know, oh, that's our colleague. What is his interest here? Then perhaps he gets a call, he tells you, saidia huyo mtu. You see, he will withdraw. Yes. Then he will give opportunity to the irregulars to go and destroy. Yes.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. Anyway, I think the biggest worry as well is the regular disappearance, they're happening so often. And we get to move on from them so fast. We had the Gitengela 4 disappeared, they were all found dead, and we moved on from it. I mean, the country goes on. Is it normal? It's normal,
not normal because, you see, a country gets to a point where you can imagine law enforcement going rogue. You can imagine prosecutors, police officers, crime investigators, crime intelligence officers becoming part of the crime. And you know how they will rationalize. And the danger, because I know what the public would want to hear. The danger is, if my superiors can order this to happen, and they can order us to exterminate, then why wouldn't I use the same firearm and the same badge to then also make myself rich? Yes. Wow. You get? Because he can rationalize. He can rationalize. He has opportunity.
So ukipotea siku hizi tuko sawa.
Yes, tuko sawa because it's rationalized. It's become normal. It's been normalized. And the danger to society is that today it is you. It is the other person. Tomorrow it is you. Okay? We had Oulu and Oscar Kingara disappearing during the high days of the Mungeki. And we know some of our political leaders cheered the police and said, it's okay. Those are supporters of Mungeki. Okay? I want to talk directly to my brothers and sisters from Central Kenya. You know, when the late Honorable Michuki said, and he told the former then PP of Nairobi, that niko hapa na Kingori Mwangi, na Mwangi wa Kingori. Mutakuwa tu mkisikia mazishi hapa. It was said publicly, isn't it?
Sema kila nyumba itakuwa na kaburi.
Kila nyumba itakuwa na kaburi. What happened to Michuki's house in Kangema? There was a frontal attack on him. Maybe by the Mungeki who felt, and their sympathizers who felt that he's gone too far. But that did it stop? No. We know thereafter, there have been even confessions by former police officers, okay, of extrajudicial killings. And some of the police officers saying, some of the people who participated with them, although they were said to be police officers, they did not have badges. Those are what I have told you, they can be irregulars. And an irregular sharpshooter can come from any from whether for forests, any of the regimental services. Yes. Any of the regimental services. And when I talk of regiment, is anybody trained to bear arms on behalf of the state. So the state can use any of those and then turn them into irregulars to do what is called extermination squads. And those squads, they happen in many countries, because people also know, they read novels about this, they watch movies. Those are not theories. And for those of us who are trained and understand one or two things, we know how those kind of things can go. But then the danger is, if my own superiors sent me to do something terrible, you see, I have compromising evidence on them. In security agencies, we call that IOU. You develop an IOU. Yes. You sent me to do an indebtedness. Yes. So I mean, you are indebted to me. So that's why you find some senior commanders are very weak towards their juniors. Because if you sent me to carry out an illegality and you made money out of the illegality,
and you owe them,
and you owe me, I can always sell you out. You understand how it goes? Yes. So it becomes so serious that a country can actually collapse because of that kind of problem.
All right, we leave the security issues now. Let's come back to family issues, and we start with the first topic of the day. It's about families. The contribution of men and women in marriage. Men claim that women do not contribute anything. Women claim that the men are supposed to provide everything. Law says they are equal.
What do you talk? Good, you have raised it. You know, I saw a comment by one of them, a journalist, where he said that a man called him and said that he's been married for 8 years. And the most expensive thing his wife has ever bought in the house is 5 kilos of meat. Yeah, and it became a very hot debate. A very hot debate. And then the question began that why? So are men supposed to slave it out for women? Is that what we are supposed to be doing? That your work is just to bring somebody, your work is to sit at home, uoga mzuri, akue safi, avalie mavazi mzuri. Wewe utanunua hiyo mavazi, akae kwa nyumba yako, utajenga hiyo ama kununua hiyo nyumba. Aendeshe gari yako yenye utanunua ama kumpatia. Then hata kama ni kulima hata lima, because using religiosity, some of the men will say, or some of the women will say, the Bible says that men are supposed to provide. Okay, those are some of the arguments that some of the people made there. But ask yourself this question, we talk. When a man and a woman come together, they were previously separate individuals. Separate?
Yes. Individuals. So
before a man A and a woman B come together, they are separate individuals. They are personae in what you call in law, rights of rem, you know, in their public rights. They exist as individuals with full rights, without any appendage or any responsibility towards the other. Sini kweli?
Yes.
Then they get married, or they come to stay together to cohabit. And how then what is this that is created by cohabitation? And this is what I want to explain so that people understand. By cohabitation, you create a community. You create
a community.
A community. And that community, we call it a community of marriage. A community of
Married.
And that is why the law, when you say I stayed with this woman for 10 years and you never even conducted ceremony, even traditionally, or even under the law, you went to statute and registered on marriage, the law makes a presumption of marriage. Makes a presumption of
Married.
Why does the law? By construction. They say by construction of law, we are imposing a marriage on you two people.
We are imposing.
Yeah, we are imposing. Because in that community you've created, each one of you is supposed to surrender 50% of their personality. So a man A surrenders 50%. Woman B surrenders 50%. They create a whole. They create a whole, another whole, which is called a community of marriage. A community of marriage brings issues to society. That's why I've said before here, we don't call children in a marriage, that they are issues of the marriage. It has issued something. And that is why those people who've stayed together beyond 6 months, 2 years, and have issued something to society, the law can construe a marriage and impose a marriage on them. Because you have issued something to this society. And society does not believe that a man and a woman, right thinking, okay, we are talking of people who are sound mind. Right thinking people in the society should bring issues into society and then burden the society. Because when you leave street children, when you leave destitute children, who are you burdening?
The society.
You are burdening the society to protect and take care of those children.
Of those issues.
Yes, of those issues, of your misdemeanors. Of your misdemeanors. Consequently, this is why the law creates another 50%. And this 50-50, and this is what I want to tell men and women. In that 50-50, no man, no woman is required to surrender their personae 55% and another 45%. That is why the Constitution says that men and women are equal. Men and women are equal. You are equal because one surrenders 50, I surrender 50. We create another whole called a community, Mr. and Mrs. Mr. and
Mrs.
And courtesy of this, then unasema huyu ni bibia Bitok, huyu ni bibia Wanderi, huyu ni bibia so and so. This, then she can go and say that ninataka nipatie nyanya, nipatie nyama, nipatie unga, mzee atalipa. In other words, she can pledge your credit. Can she pledge your credit if she's a girlfriend? No. Your girlfriend cannot pledge your credit. And this is now where we talk of the equality. And the 2010 Constitution we talk. The men in Kenya, men of Kenya, tafadhali, please congratulate yourself if you voted yes. That before the 2010 Constitution, men and women were not equal under the matrimonial laws in Kenya. What does that mean? That what a woman came with in marriage belonged to her. What she continued to acquire in marriage belonged to her. What you as a man had before marriage, if you developed it together with her, became yours jointly. So in other words, you lose your 50% to her. Anything you owned, you lose 50%. Yeah. What you acquire even during marriage, during the community of marriage, you lose 50% to her. But her, she remains a whole. She retains her entire whole. Because of that problem, it was called the Married Women's Property Act, which was an act we adopted from Europe. We threw it away in 2010 under the Constitution. And men and women became equal by construction of law. That means for you to claim that me and you, because we are married, you own 50% of what you own, you must show direct and tangible contribution. And horizontal escapades are not part of the contribution. No. Did you get that?
So how do we value that?
That's not valued.
That's come to value.
That's not valued. It is assumed by the time you accept that, you've exercised your decision or autonomy to say, I wish to be with Wanderi or with Bitok. Yes, as a woman. So you cannot then claim that the man should mother and father me and look after me as if you have no hands, you have no eyes, you have no legs to walk. No. To say you are participating, this is why it is called a community. The reason I'm going to talk about this, you remember last time wanaume walisema tupidue chapati.
Kabisa. Sema tugeuza chapati kidogo.
It's because a lot of men are suffering under this. And women, some of them do not understand. Ladies, hiyo bus tulitoka, hiyo bus tulishuka, hiyo bus ya
tulitoka kwa bus,
hiyo bus tulishuka, hiyo ya kusema kwamba wewe utadoea. Hapana. You must make direct and cognizable, tangible contribution. In other words, if a married woman wants to say she wants to co-own her husband's things, she better start keeping records of account of her contribution. Yes.
What if there's none?
If there is none,
as I say, I've been living with you.
Then they would have to show an agreement that we agreed that you take care of the children. So that means there will be no house girl employed.
So even being a housewife now, you need a contract?
Not necessarily. But for example, if a housewife is... if I'm paying the house girl, for example, you get. Yeah. So you stay in the house. So kazi yako ni kuoga, kukula na kulala. So I pay the house boy, I pay the house girl, I pay the watchman. What is your work? What is your work? What is your contribution? What is your contribution? You say giving birth is your contribution. Excuse me? Nowadays we can have test tube babies. I can go to the ovum bank and get an ova, put my egg and get a test tube baby. Simple. Isn't it? Yes, science has advanced. So those arguments that because you gave birth, then you have some rights over a man, those ones they no longer work. They are court decisions at the High Court and the Court of Appeal. Your contribution must be direct and tangible. And for the men, please do not contribute 65%. Okay? In fact, if you are in a household, the sensible thing is to ensure, and this is why people agree, the roles, they are called normative roles between a man and a woman in a household. You agree what she will do. For example, if a woman is not working and she's dependent on her husband, why should she insist that he also hires and pays a house girl or a domestic manager or other domestic workers? What is her work? What is her contribution to that household? She ought to relieve the man of that burden, financial burden. Okay. So the contribution can be tangible but indirect. So marriage is not automatic validation of sharing. No, it's not. It's not. In fact, it's not. I have said you must show direct and tangible contribution. So if I'm married to a woman for 50 years and maybe she was not working or she was not contributing financially, and we get to part at some point, so she'll work without nothing. No, she doesn't work without nothing. If she was not working, but she was giving you peace and comfort. Peace, aid, and comfort. So much what percentage is peace? To look after your children. And that is where now the extent of contribution is based on evidence. It's based on evidence. And I have seen the High Court now saying this woman, you've seen even some women being told you walk out with 1 shilling out of an estate. With one nominal. It's called nominal allocation. Nominal allocation. Yes, because your contribution is near zero, but because you did some contribution, because you are there, you go with a shilling. The man has decided to leave the property to the children. The property to the children, which are his children and your children. Even you want the property to be left with you to do what with it, and the man has decided to leave it with the children. The man also has decided to leave you with the house. There is nothing else. So they are entitled to a home. I want us to remember the will by the late Governor Gachagua of Nyeri. Yes. Oh, what was the will saying? The will said that there is nobody who was going to inherit any of his properties. His properties were going to be liquidated, turned into cash, and shared in a particular manner. And the wives, I think, is it 2 or 3 of them, were only going to retain the homes they stay. And then to make matters worse, the wives were not being left anything of the estate being distributed. It is the children. You get? And they cannot invalidate that will. Because he also put a rider. If you go to court to fight this will, it is the money from your contribution that will be used to pay the legal fees. You get? So I'm telling this because we've had a situation. What do you think inspired Gachagua to do that? Because he was alive to the law and he was properly advised. And he knows the passion. You see, when you are talking about contribution in a community of marriage, there are no emotions involved. It's did you or did you not? Ulileta ama hukuleta. That should be the question.
End of class.
Then why do we amass property? I have said it before in this show that the children become the hostages to that fortune. It's not the wives, no, the husbands who are left if a partner dies. Have you heard anybody saying that it is the wife who will be? The wife only retains. She retains a lifetime interest, not ownership of the matrimonial home. Did you know the meaning of that? What that means? If you are left the matrimonial home, which the man and woman called, where they now are communing, you know, when we said community of marriage, there is a communion where they were enjoying that communion between them. Okay? And I want you to explain this, that communion is supposed to be enjoyed within the confines of that matrimony. Where you are enjoying that communion, if the wife was left with that, she enjoys that interest in her lifetime. Lifetime. Did we talk about ownership? We talked about lifetime interest. So that property can still devolve to another person, but she cannot be chased away from the home. Yes.
Okay.
In other words, I am capable of leaving my property to my children, but the matrimonial home, their mother will retain a lifetime interest. What does that mean? If she remarries, she loses that interest. If she remarries, because by marriage she has created another community. She's communing elsewhere. She's no longer communing where we were communing. You know,
okay.
Those things are not very technical.
So you cannot move with your inheritance into another relationship.
You cannot commune with. You can't go to commune in another place carrying the vestiges of the former communion. Okay. No. The law does not allow you to do that. Otherwise, women would be hopping from one marriage to another to inherit. Yes.
So you cannot inherit 3 men?
No, you can't. You have to...
Yes. Anyway.
The reason I'm raising this is because of that issue, and the debate became very hot. And it looks like the women movement, the gender equality movement that was there from 1985, 95, 05, they seem to have missed the boat that the law changed after 2010. Yes. That although they empowered the girl child, they need to remind them now, baby sister, you dada yangu, you now have to contribute. It's no longer the way it was before. Yes. And when I have said indirect contribution, for example, when do you say that a woman has provided a man aid and comfort? Let's break it down also for the ladies.
How do you value
for example,
that? Yes.
A man built a house, isn't it?
Yes.
Then he married you. You are not working. So he gave you actually decided, you actually even accepted, you know, to bear his children. Okay? Biologically, I have used the phrase hosting his palms. You hosted his palms. So you bore him children. But you looked after the children because he did not even employ a house girl. He was a politician or a businessman. So there are always parties in the house. So you supervise the cooking.
You are cooking every time.
Yes, you are cooking every time. There were always guests in the house. You see you can already begin to see her indirect contribution. Yes, and I forget the name of the judgment, but a court in Mombasa gave a lady for showing that contribution 30%. The lady was given 30%, not 70%. The 70%, the 70% was left for the man to decide what to do with it. You can see now what the ladies need to show. That I looked after this man, and when I say you provided him with aid and comfort, okay, and a peace. You've even seen marriage counselors say that after a certain age, men stop going home to look for love. All they want in that home is peace. Yes, peace. Life is rough for us men. We talk. It's not simple.
Yes,
it's the vagaries of nature kill us.
Is it not rough for everybody?
But for us, it is even worse because you see, apart from what the law says, there is our culture.
Okay.
How many women pay dowry for us? No. Let's begin. You pay dowry.
Yes. But the Indians, they don't. Unless they're in India.
That's them, and that's good for them. They are very lucky. The men in India are very lucky.
Indian men are lucky.
Yes. And some guys in China too, in Tibet, they also don't pay. Actually, it is the men who move into the woman's home. Yes.
So in the next world, we should reincarnate in India.
Perhaps.
For recovery.
Yes.
For us to go and recover.
But you can see, we've got situations where there has been outrageous demands for dowry. Outrageous?
Demands for dowry.
Yes, and you've seen the pain. We've even seen some men after showing showbiz of going to marry their wives. The next thing they are being prosecuted for fraud.
Yes.
Because you have to show, it's showmanship. You are doing showing showmanship so that you can convince her. Then you actually have confused her. You haven't convinced her. Conviction should be by her, by will, by accepting, by exercising
not by
autonomy.
manipulation.
Not by manipulation.
Okay. And showmanship.
And showmanship.
And is a braggadocio.
Braggadocio. And then the woman accepts you. After 2 years, she says, I no longer love you. Was love part of the equation when I was paying dowry? Then if love is part of the equation,
then you should have told me, because I love you, please don't pay.
There should be no dowry.
Okay.
You wanted me to come and love you. So why do you want a house? Why do you want a good car? Yes. See, if it is love, you get. So
for free.
There is religion. I wanted to qualify that the fact that the law says they are equal, there is also the aspect of culture.
Okay.
It is, I have seen men organize. My friends, they are saying, I need to give money for cooking, for slaughter and kuchija buzi kadhaa.
Kuna vikombe alipasua kwa anti yake akiwa mdogo.
And even the shukas, which you see in Kikuyu culture and among the Merus, the Mount Kenya communities, ile inatolewa. Unajua wewe mwanaume ndio unanunua. You don't go back home with them.
Yes.
Hizo shuka unaona wamefikwa. Alafu unachagua. Hata kama unanunua hiyo.
Ya kukufanyia ufisadi ndio bado unalipia.
Kwanza unafanywa ufisadi na unalipa. You get? So it's actually, you have to see why I'm saying this. Because the boy child begins from a point of disadvantage by culture. By culture and religion. Religion is already telling the woman, the man is supposed to provide. Okay, so what is your work? Kulala, kula, kuoga, na kukula sakramenti. Kukula sakramenti.
Kafi, mambo ya kafi.
Na pia sakramenti pia ni mwanaume
ana initiate pia.
Yeye pia mwenyewe yake inatoka kwako inaingia. Ni watu,
tradini hatari. Anyway.
You get why it becomes that serious. So the boy child already begins from a point of disadvantage.
Okay.
And therefore, the recovery time, for example, if you spend dowry, you've spent $1 million. Then you spend $1 million on wedding. Then you spend another $1 million on buying her gifts. Wewe umerudi mifuko milioni ngapi? 3. Si ndio? Alafu pia yeye anakuja haongezi kitu. Tena unaanza kutoa tena. The following day unalipa rent, unanunua chakula. Hey, okay. That is now why the law came in to salvage the men. Okay. But we also need to say, as Eric advised one day, we need to amend some of these our cultures. That we shouldn't be demanding of men so much. Okay? When I hear some of our members of our community saying they are converting 90 goats, 90 goats into money. 90 goats, how much would that be among the Nandi? If you are to convert goats in your home area, how much money would you be paying?
Ikienda sana kama 50 goats, that's 50,000.
Yeah?
It's 50 goats.
No, but convert 90 goats into money.
90 goats into money. Okay, look at 90 goats, that's almost 200,000.
One goat is that cheap in your area?
Yes. Uko mashinani cheap.
Like
in town, one goat, if one goat in town is around 5,000. So 5,000 times 90.
Nitahamia kwenu mashinani.
Kuja sasa ulipe huko mahali.
Na unionyeshe wakina Chepchumba, labda nitabahatika huko. Even in the villages, the cheapest goat costs minimum 3,500. So, and that's how they start calculating it. Now, that is the cheapest. So already you are talking of, and that is just one item of the dowry, 3,500. So you can see how the boy child has begun from a disadvantage. And let's not even split hairs about it. It's actually a financial disadvantage. It's a cost to the boy child. It's a cost to the family of that child. Yes. Okay. And as we talk about equality, then we should begin to ask ourselves, and this is a challenge I've always spoken to women, that so it is equal for you. For me and you are equal, only to the extent the day I want to pay dowry unisaidii. Yes, but some women are good. They also help you to pay. If you get a good one. And I would urge the good ones, if you are earning more than the man, tafadhali saidia kulipa hiyo gharama. Yes.
Tafadhali saidia bwana.
Saidia bwana.
Okay. Haya, tuangalie kwa mambo ya family harmony. With time as well, when you talk about when you talk about money, and the capacity to make things happen. And women have continued to gain this capacity to make income and to make decisions, financial decisions. And you find that the more they get empowered, the more there seems to be a disconnect in terms of harmonious family coexistence. And look at investment, you find people these days, the most argument that people are having these days in relationships is around money, around investments, all these things. And the question is, we find couples who cannot even invest jointly, who cannot look in one direction in terms of investment. There's no harmony, there's no trust within themselves. And you find that men these days are also complaining that women, most of the time women are used to saying, my money is my money, your money is our money.
Yes.
And you find that siku hilo unapata bana, kumbe bibi akona magorofa yenye ujui anapeana rent pale. Hata nilisikia another man again, the wife told him, we need to move, darling, we need to move from this place, and I found an apartment. So the guy realized after almost 5 years that he has been paying rent for his wife's apartment. Yes. His wife is his landlord, and he's not aware he's a landlord. So there's some serious disconnect in terms of harmony within couples. And facing in the same time in terms of investment and looking, doing joint investments, being open about the finances and these other things. What do you feel is happening within that? Is then the power of earning and money bringing in more disconnect and disharmony among couples? And the question is, as we talk about a marriage that cannot just disintegrate because you want it to, what is the solution in terms of law? Do you have a legal solution? And what do you think from a social perspective again? What's going on?
From the cultural and social perspective, I said, Bitok, we are building up from the earlier debate that, look, culture says, I'm the head of the family. I'm the head of the family. Then culture also, religion says, and women are very good at riding on this, that the husband is a provider, provider, to the exclusion of her. She's not supposed to provide. So you now understand why men always die earlier. Yes, on average in Kenya, from all communities, men
we go fast.
We go fast because of the stresses and the pressures of life and the demands by society. We're not having it easy. As I said, from dowry we start at disadvantage. Then we get into this association. In this association, I talked about communing. That's why it's called a community of marriage. And the communion, the holy communion a man and a wife share in marriage is what brings issues. Then issues to society, children. These children become hostages to the fortune. The fortune is not supposed to be the man's fortune alone. It's to be the fortune of what is acquired within the community of that marriage. Now, a wife should be able to pledge the credit of her husband. And a man should also pledge the credit of his wife. But is that practical, Bitok? We know what has happened to some of our brothers who've attempted to live off their wives. They've had to die of stress. Some have become depressed. They've been denied communion. They've been denied conjugal rights because they are not considered men. When ni mwanaume aina gani? Tumeelewana? And this is now what brings disharmony. And we need to acknowledge, because Bitok, if you and I have daughters, we're taking them to school. We're not teaching them so that they can be lesser than the boys. Okay? If a lady is a doctor and the man, for example, is a junior one, okay? Does it mean, does the man lose his masculinity because he's earning less? The answer should be no. So there should be that cognition. Some women are very wise. Some women are very wise. That they will never allow the oil skin, what my ancestors say, the oil skin of the family, to be shared with strangers. That is part and parcel of the family secret. Now, and these women who are wise, Bitok, they rise to very powerful positions. Let's go to Liberia. Mrs. Johnson Sirleaf. Okay? Isn't it? In Tanzania, Bibi Samia Suluhu Hassan. In Malawi, Mrs. Joyce Banda. Did you get first number one? Those are not single women. They are not activists. Si wanaharakati ambao wametoroka kwa doa. Hapana. They are women of their own right. They have families. They are stable, both emotionally, politically, and economically. Is Mzee Hassan, is the Mzee of Suluhu Hassan going to, we saw him, and remember when she was being sworn, he was introduced. Have you seen him again in those public functions? It's because now it's not necessary. He stays in the backyard, isn't it? We've also got married men here. My senior colleague, Mr. Kamodho Waigajo, is the first man of Kirinyaga County, isn't it? Does he therefore need to be saying those things? But we recognize and we know that Her Excellency, the governor, is his wife. Are we in doubt about that?
No.
We are not in doubt. And this is what we would expect. That the harmony should be that who has more power play in this, between these people. Whereas Mr. Kamolo was commissioner in the Constitutional Implementation Commission, his term ended, isn't it?
Yes.
So is he holding any public position?
No.
So by vestige of power wherever he goes, more likely than not, tunasema huyu ni bwana ya governor. Ni bwana ya?
She'll ride on the wife's position.
He will ride on the wife. But does not make him a lesser man. And this is also something I want to tell men, to bring harmony. That the fact that your wife has earned more money, number one, I want to first ask the women, please do not, you're already in a communion. In this community, we call it contract uberrima fides. It's a contract of utmost good faith. That's why you accept it. That's why you trust the other person with your life. That's why you commune together. We are not using the words which are prohibited by the programming code. No, but we know that men and women commune together. They share. Kuna sakramenti pale yenye wako nayo. Na ni wao wawili sababu ni watu wazima. Lakini si kusema kwamba wewe uko na mali nyingi kunishida kwamba usinipatie sakramenti ama usikubali kwamba tuna ushirikiano ule. Hapana. Muendeleeni kushirikiana. Na vile vile mwanaume uga bibi yako mkono. Na kuwa na yeye, simama na yeye. Pia mimi nashukuru sababu niona ndugu yangu wakili mwenye yako amenishida miaka senior, bwana Kamodho alisimama na bibi yake hata wakati kulikuwa na ile kesi ilikuwa inamkabili msuko ya kisiasa.
Yeye alikuwa baadhi ya wakili
pale. Alisimama na bibi yake. Hakusema nilipe sababu yule si yeye ako na ile ujuzi na umaarufu wa kisheria. So hata wewe tumia umaarufu wako kusaidia bibi yako. Na hata mimi bwana Bito, nikapata bibi mwenye nataka kuwa mheshimiwa, mimi nitamunga mkono. Nitamsaidia. Na vile vile ukipata kile kiti, si kusema kwamba sasa uniterekeze useme kwamba mimi si mtu ya maana. Sasa umenishinda.
Ni boss.
Sasa ile tunajua tunaleta uhusiano mzuri. Na vile vile why do I want to talk about the men who say they are being defrauded? Because the contract of marriage is a contract of utmost good faith. We call it contract uberrima fides. You must disclose everything. Everything. So you cannot have a situation where the woman does not disclose everything. Already you started from at a disadvantage. You lost some money to pay dowry, fund the wedding, and then later on in life, she acquires property behind your back and engaging in fraudulent misrepresentation. Because that's fraud. It's fraudulent misrepresentation. Can I tell you something? Any man who pays rent and then discovers he's been living in an apartment by his wife can actually recover that money, part of that money.
Wow.
Yes. Okay. Because that is fraud. That's fraudulent misrepresentation. In other words, you are abusing what you would call, you are abusing our social and cultural proximity or religious, spiritual proximity to defraud me. Yes.
Okay. Finally, tukifunga kazi, there's a trend that's coming back big time, polygamy. And whether in whatever arrangement, it could be mpango account who is taken care of on the side. The man pays rent, pays the children to school and all that. That trend is coming back. Polygamy is coming back big time, and it's being witnessed. And even it's not only men who are playing this game; women are also coming in, and you are seeing a trend that's called also polyandry. Seeing what is happening in South Africa, they've already legalized a woman getting married to men and all that. But anyway, big on it is the return of polygamy, men and extra. I don't know when we started calling them extra affairs because back then, now we're calling them dedicated partners.
We have a wife.
Whatever the case, and I mean it's coming back big time, and you would wonder. Back in our traditions, there was nothing like called Panga kano dedicated partnership. It was a second wife or a third wife.
Yes.
It was polygamy and all that.
Yes.
And somehow the religion, modernity and religion came and swept her off. And somehow we've had a new fabric where people cannot share.
Yes.
People on some level of exclusivity, when it comes to partnerships and marriages.
Yes.
But this thing is coming up big time. I saw on last week's cover page, there was the family of the late musician from Thika. What was the name of this guy?
Muranga.
What's the name of this guy?
Katanga.
The
Matthew.
The Matthew.
Yes.
And she had two wives who were coexisting several months after the death of the husband.
Yes.
Now, this trend is coming up quick time, and you're hearing a lot of dramas on social media. Someone is having an affair here, or they have children outside. Yes. All these other things. These ruckus are coming up. Yes. How do we? Is an harmonious existence between these families possible?
It is possible, and I will tell you the reason why. You know, we talked about the way of men. You remember the book, and we see the pressures that are on men to prove themselves in the modern age. How many men have names? Perhaps you, because of what we do, yes, and the investment you've made and the commitment you've made here, you've made a name. Yeah. Are your age mates, do they have the same name?
No.
They don't have.
Yeah.
Some of them already see you at a different desktop. Now, how many offers will you even get from women wanting to be associated with your fame?
There are many.
There are very many, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
I do get the same. Okay?
Yeah.
And we know and if you have acquired then some intellectual power, some societal power, there is always wanting to be associated with success. And everybody wants to be associated with success. But because of our culture in Africa, it is more often women who want to be associated with success.
Yes.
But equally, now we've got, as you said, polyandry, where a few successful women, and we saw it in parliament. Remember, there were young men who were said to have had affairs with a number of...
the great, what was this guy called?
Chacha.
Chacha,
yes.
The great Chris Chacha.
Yes, you get. And he said to have had associations with various, intimate associations with various number of female legislators. Now, and remember, some of them were married. So yes. In other words, they were having
extramarital affairs.
Okay, they were communing outside the holy matrimony.
Yes.
Okay, as people religious people want to say. So this is something that's happening. So in other words, we are saying there is scarcity of successful men in the limelight. What happens when resources are scarce?
We scramble for the little.
Scramble for them. We skirmish for them. When they are abundant, we share. Okay? So basically, this is what is happening. That you ask women and they will tell you that, okay, and I remember even a woman making a call to a radio station and saying that I got married because of love. After 8 years, she said, 7 years, I got my 2 children. The 8th year, he kicked me out. And I remember I discovered he had another woman. Then he left me in debt because we had taken loans to do this. There is a reason I'm using that example. Because you see, already the woman went there for love. Then she said, in my next marriage, there's only going to be one baseline. She said, now, I have tried to sort myself out. And make my life very bearable. So she said, in my next marriage, I will only look at a man who has resources. A man who has
resources.
She's not interested in the emotions and love. She's only going to look at resources. That's where her experience has taken her. What is she saying? She is saying that, look, I am going in for fortune. Whereas we said fortune is supposed to be for children. She's going in for fortune. Then she was asked, na utapata watoto wengi, he says, kama ana uwezo, nitamzalia wengine. Where am I getting to this? Let's go back to traditional African society. Who is it that got married to 2 wives? Is it men of straw? Not men of straw. Did you know that, Bitok, among the Kikuyus, the men were classified into 4 groups? 4 groups. There is what used to be called the men. Then there are those who are called messengers. Wale unaambiwa, si pombe kidogo ni kutume. Si pombe ni kutume.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like now the servants of the man with wealth.
Yule nyo nasemanga sasa hii kiongozi.
Yes, kiongozi.
Wala kuitana kiongozi.
Sasa kiongozi ako na wale watu wengine unawaambia jameni, iko kanyama hapa na iko pombe kidogo.
Onja ni kutume.
Then there was also that group where it was said we need I need to be escorted somewhere. You know, a man of means says, because I need to show I am big. My servants, you know, and you remember Eric saying in Kikuyu saying ahoy, the people you give places to live in, they do not own the land, but you give them a place to live because you are a powerful man. If you say your own servants and ahoys are not many, then you bring others. You tell them to bring others. So unasema wale kiwa Kikuyu tunasema ni wakujaji za kibaba. Mayuri adua. It's very abusive. It's very so in Kikuyu they will tell you there are 4 categories of men. The man himself, the owner of the land and property and wealth. The one who is a servant to be take beer and be sent. Then there is the guy who is to come to fill the numbers. And then of course there is what they say, the waste. They call the waste because he never married, he never got children, he belongs to nobody. He owns nothing. So he is so low that he cannot even be asked to accompany people to
anywhere.
You're
not even fit for a company.
Yes, you are not even fit for company. That's the 4th category. Now, remember that guy, Kiongos, has wealth. Do you know how the people who are his slaves, the ahoy, you know, and the ones who've come to live, his tenants, to live in his state, do you know how they acquired power and more wealth? By getting their beautiful daughters to be married by the sons of Kiongos. Did you get that? In other words, there is what you call acquisition of wealth and power through marriage. Through marriage. And this is what then would happen. That even if I was an ahoy, I educated my son so well and made him a craft that the son, the daughter of Kiongos wants to be married by my son. So by association, But and by the way, Bitok, I want to say it here boldly. I know 1 or 2 lawyers who've made it big by marrying into the right families. Marrying into the right families. Because these lawyers, we asked one of them that you married from that family. He said, yes, nilikuwa na wasichana wengi. Akasema wengine walikuwa warebo sana. But he said apart from their urebo, na nguo zao hakuna kitu angeniletea. Yes,
hasara tupu.
Yeah, hasara tupu. Then because we asked him, hey, this lady, he said, it's okay.
Muniache kitia, mimi najua ni nini nilikuwa nafanya.
Courtesy of me marrying her, you can see I am now this level. I am enjoying.
I'm also Kiongos.
With a big spoon. He's become Kiongos by association, by marrying into the right family. So I wanted to explain that so that people understand why it is coming back. Why it is coming back. So it's coming back. It's, you say, history has a way of repeating itself. And it's repeating itself because a woman is looking at it this way. I've used the example of the woman who called and said, look, 7 years into marriage, either I'm kicked out, I was left with debt. But now, because she said, mimi ni mrembo. Actually, she used that word. Mimi ni mrembo. Sasa siwezi kubali mtu maskini. In other words, I'm also urging the women that please look at it. If you are from the family of the so-called tenants, of the lower people, jisomeshe vizuri na jiweke mzuri, ujiokoe by marrying into the right family. Because where we were born is a question of fate. Who we marry is a question of choice. But if you start doing the wrong things at the wrong time and you get baby before marriage, you start from disadvantage. You start from disadvantage because then you have to prove yourself because the society is such that has decided that, look, if you're already having issues before, then there is a problem. Yes? But this is why now it is coming back.
The polygamy is coming back.
It's not coming back. It's coming back because of the power play, because of the modern wealth. The modern wealth. Well, modern wealth. That, for example...
so what's making men, for instance, marry twice?
Yeah, the men are doing this, and I will tell you the reason why. Bitok. So I grew up from down with a lot of struggles, poverty. So mimi napata bibi, pia mesoma. Gets to a point and gets 2 children and says, taki mwengine. Yes, and I will say that because I have men who have told me the reason I have married twice. One of them, one of my friends and my client is an engineer. An engineer. He retired from the ministry, went into construction, made good money. In fact, he called us and told us, nimeanza kuvalia kaptula. We asked him, in the first I didn't know kuvalia kaptula nini. Then I was told in Karen Ligwa, it means that mzee amefika billionaire. Amefika?
Billionaire.
Bibi yake ya kwanza alizaa watoto wangapi? Watatu. Now he has properties dotted all over. See you from Kiserian, from Karen, from where Thika Road. Then he looks at his wife. She can't get more children. She can't get more
children.
And he has all this wealth. Then 2 of his children go to Australia to study. Okay? I'm not mentioning the proper country. I'm just giving an example. The boys don't come back. He starts worrying. And you know, you give us an evidence here of another man again in Karen who is worried where his wealth will go. So this mzee, our engineer, calls us and he says, sababu maneno imekuwa namna hivi, he meets a kaba lady who works in his construction firm. And for some reason, they get into an arrangement. Now, there is not marriage. He gets into
arrangement.
Kidogo, she starts with twins. Twins. So, you know, already he had 3 from the first wife. Now, akona wangapi?
5.
Kidogo. Mzee calls us and tells us, nitawapeleka huko. Then he calls us and tells us, if any one of you ever tells my wife that I am doing this, you are part of this. You are out of my circles. You're not welcome. You remember he has wealth. So he buys a house somewhere where we know, gets half an acre, very large compound. So he travels to his up-country home in central Kenya. So nasema nitarudi kesho. Nitarudi jioni.
Central Kenya ni hapa
kwa Mwikali, quote unquote. So in Mwikali, then she has twins first, then gets another child. That children again twins. Mwikali amepata watoto wangapi? 5. Remember he has
amekuwa 3.
Ako na wengine 3.
So amekuwa 8 sasa.
Amekuwa 8. Then in the process, his wife discovers and starts making noise. You know, anamwambia nini? Wewe una shida kwa kanisa. Wewe ni ile women guild or women as Catholic association or ile, you know those women. Amevalia kitambaa. Akamwambia sio una shida huko. Uwezi ongeza. Watoto wako ni moja tu wako Kenya. Au wengine wamekatalia nini? Lambo. Unataka nifanye nini? What do you expect the wife to say? She has an option to divorce him. He tells her, you have an option to file for divorce. Mama ni kuache huku Karen, mimi ni So mama is advised by elders and told, at your age, stop the fight. Stop the fight. So they have kind of what is called in communion they separate, but they are still together. You get?
Yes.
But he is not finished. He meets another one. He meets another one. Now he meets a graduate. Actually, a BCom graduate. Yes, who does his accounts. Who does his?
Accounts.
And she's like, Kwani, this mzee is telling me that niendage huko, quote unquote, Rongai, nikaangalie mali yake. Na hata he actually told her, hata ukitafuta nyumba moja ukaange huko, mimi sitaki kwenda huko kila wakati. Unafanya wakilipa, unafanya reconciliation, unanitumia hesabu. The young girl quickly is introduced to very good life. She says, mzee, oh no, she says, apana, ita flani. In fact, he introduces her to these travel agents. Ukitaka ticket ya ndege ita flani, we lipa, watakucharge, watabill kampuni, we enda Mombasa, angalia pia mali hiyo iko Mombasa. You see, she begins to now get into his business affairs. In 3 years, she was a wife with a baby.
Okay. So then now what could you say is the problem?
Now, I want you to understand.
The first issue was the first wife was not
yes.
about more children.
Yes.
Now he has more children. What is he looking for?
Now, remember, I have also said that this young girl, she gets into an association with him, intimate, isn't it? Because perhaps from her bringing, now she gets into a position where this man has what the vestiges of wealth and power she needs.
Okay.
You get? So, I don't think the third one, he was very keen because the age difference. Hata yeye alikuwa anatuambia huyu ni mdogo sana.
So he was just having fun.
Yes, he was just having fun. He got children. Do you know how many she has now? Totally now, the women have continued to give birth. The man, by the time count, in 2019, he had 14.
14 children.
He had 14. So you know what he tells us? Nowadays, he has a way of asking men, when ukisema huwezi kupata bibi mwingine, he says, and I've used this phrase here, ni mbegu huna ama ni pesa. Okay. And he's also very keen to tell you, if you cannot afford, don't get into it. Okay. And I've also said, when we talk about our old generation, kiongos, there is the one with wealth and power. It's not the men who cannot afford, the so-called men of straw. It's not ile ya kusipu ni kutume, si oja ni kutume. Sio hiyo group ilikuwa inaoa bibi ya pili na ya tatu. Hapana.
Okay.
And even, I would say, even among some cultures, I've read among the Luo, and to an extent among the Kikuyu too, that the first wife, if she realized, for example, that she's not, the man is growing wealthier and wealthier, she would be the one to tell him that baba nani, nimeona msichana ya family fulani, naweza leta anisaidie kazi. Do you know why the first wives would do that traditionally? The first wives would do that to safeguard their positions. To safeguard their
position.
Because the person they bring will always be beholden to them.
Okay.
Now, the women we have today wouldn't do that. But the women we have today, I've used the example of the BCom graduate, are not hesitant. They will not hesitate to join a man of power and get intimate with him and get children with the promise that of good life, with the promise of
good life. So it's becoming more commercial.
It's almost commercial.
Okay.
But again, remember, also the women need to understand, because that is, for me, that was the first man. I have another man who also told me that his wife got only 2 children and got daughters. Na akasema hawa wasichana, mimi naona wakiolewa nitabaki bure.
So anatafuta wanaume.
So yes, and now he has 5.
All right. Interesting convention has been. Now, there's an issue I think we need to pick up on next week. I've received a message here. Last things, hi Gerald, I have a genuine concerns. I've never seen any media house talk about this gambling addiction issue and it's affecting the youth. It is a serious mental illness and is causing depression and leading to many killings and breakups for many young families. I'm one of the addicts and currently I'm looking for a rehabilitation center that accommodate me. My number is... Okay.
Yes.
I think there's something we need to pick up on next week.
It's not that this matter has not been talked about. Can I now surprise you? I am blacklisted by Mount Kenya media stations. Yes. Especially the ones that speak in vernacular.
Okay.
Because one of the reasons is this. You've turned central Kenya into the entire Mount Kenya region, and I'm now told it is spreading in other parts of the country into the gambling, in the Republic of Gabblers.
Okay.
Okay? And I said that in one of the media stations. And since they are part of the purveyors of those adverts, they felt that I was hitting at their business.
Okay.
You get? So it's not that people have not tried to talk about it. Some of us have mentioned it. I've talked about it in social media because it is terrible. Why do I say it is terrible? I once employed a young man who is my relative up country, and I gave him to look after my cows. And the cows were actually producing enough milk. He was able to look after himself. I pay him a salary from the produce, and he would also make manure. Personally, I was very interested in changing the small farm I bought. I bought a small farm away from my father. And since my father could walk there, he would go and supervise. Then I realized that the young man has now turned into gambling. He was now no longer even delivering my milk to the collection center. He was actually hawking it. Okay? He was actually even selling my manure to farmers. You get? Because of gambling. So I discontinued that business. Out of discontinuation of that business, can I tell you how many people lost? Because I don't want my old parent to carry Napier grass from the small farm I had bought elsewhere. I had a border person who on a weekly basis would go and carry 2-3 loads of Napier grass to my father's compound. Okay. He lost his source of income. The young man who was now in the farm lost his source of income. Okay. Bitoka, I will surprise you. I wasn't making much money from the cows. Actually, what I would make is if I sold the animals or the heifers or the bullocks. That is what would be my small profit. Okay. But I was doing that to also create employment. And for my people also to know, I went to school and I'm a small man of means. So I had about, my own father would feed, because the milk was delivered in his name, he would get some income. My own parents would gain from it. And then, of course, the people they would pay to work for them as casuals. Yes. And this guy who had employed on a monthly basis, and then the boda man, and the people who would also go and till and do the cultivation. They lost, all of them, because of gambling. One man. Because of gambling. And any attempt I have tried, there is a small house in that farm. Any attempt I have tried to bring in a young man, either they fall into gambling again or into alcoholism. We are killing an entire generation. And yes, we need to talk about
Okay, on Monday, we pick up this discussion on gambling. So the person will send me a message. I'll also try and find out with Wanderi if there are any facilities for rehabilitation of gamblers.
Yes,
I don't know if there's any. So we'll go through and then we will recommend. But on Monday, we pick up this conversation on a deeper level so that tuweze kuzungumza pamoja tujue. Really, it's a problem that's affecting a lot of young people. And the most interesting thing, a lot of families are getting broken because of this. It's been great having you. As in we've several minutes past time. We appreciate that we've been able to have this conversation with you, Captain. Nashukuru sana kwa kuja. Naona watu wamefurahia sana. Hapa naona hapa YouTube, Captain Nyaboga says, Captain, today's counseling session is key. Obed KM asema, wow, very anything as a marriage counselor, the legal perspective of marriage is great knowledge. Clearfast Tenai Matao Tenai says, very informative session, especially matter security. Sharon Michelle, morning tackle, salamu mingi. Kutoka Netherlands, asante sana. Mwendatezi, I read an article on the elephant that Kikuyu culture has been mixed with colonial culture and Kikuyu mythology was altered to suit a certain family. Please ask the captain if he can expound on this. Next week, we pick up with that conversation. Joseph Kadura is very educative. I didn't know that assimilation, but makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of facts into it. Big up, asante sana. Mosing Maukaden says, an eye-opener. Your content is so diverse and provides deep insight. Thank you so much. I'm also saying... Maukanis, I finally got to read the book When Breath Becomes Air, watching from Cleveland, Ohio. Thank you so much. Just says, may God bless the tackle. Asante sana. Before you go, Captain, I would want you to recommend a book for the week.
Yes, a book for the week. I'm currently and substantially, I've read the book known as What Really Matters. And this is a book written by there's a pilot who took off in an airport in the US. And 3 minutes, he had to land again, emergency.
Okay.
And you can imagine in 3 minutes he had gained 3,000 height. Wow. And then the plane struck birds, and so he had to land emergency. And this is a guy, this is Chesley Sullenberger, Captain Chesley Sullenberger, who landed in the Hudson River. And this book is known as Sule by some people. Others call it What Really Matters.
What Really Matters, okay.
And this book
of the week?
Yes, that book is very, very key because it opens you up to understand what, if you remember when breath becomes air, he did not know how long he had to live. But for this man, he had a duty, he had a cardinal duty to save everybody who was carrying on board. You as a man or a woman, you lead an association, you lead a business. You talk here, you have a few people who gain from this business. You're very focused on business too, okay, together with my brother Eric. And there are people who depend on you, your enterprise, and your energy to make a living. Now put that some people now depend on you for life. Yani, how watu either wakufe ama waishi. What decisions do you make when you are in charge? When you are in charge. And so this book opens you up and tells you, you should also take charge of your own life. What really matters? What really matters is you seeing what other people wrote in the social media and condemned. Or what really matters is what you can do today with what you have, what you have, that power that you have. And I like the fact that of what Henry Ford said, that nobody begins with zero. You begin with what you have, however little it is. So, and you do what you have to do at that moment. Suppose you had that ability to save people. So the book is very, very important. I would encourage people to read. There's also a Kenyan book that perhaps because I've also been asked whether I'm only recommending foreign books. There's a book too for Kenya. It is known as Kenya.
So this book is by Captain Sule.
Sule is Captain Sule Chesley Sullenberger. Okay.
What's the number? What's the number for M-Pesa? 07?
Yes, it's 0769. Yeah, so the book is by Captain Chesley. It's called Sule. That's why some people call it Sule.
Chesley Sule. Okay. Yes. It's Captain Sule. Chesley Sule. Okay.
Yes.
So
if those who would want to read it,
Chesley Sule. Okay, what's the number?
That discounted rate.
How much?
100 shillings.
100 shillings. Okay, number 0769.
0769 199 911.
911. Okay, so if you want to read the book of the week, we are going to recommend 2 books, one foreign book and one Kenyan, as I said. So the book of the week is What Really Matters by Captain Chesley Sule, and you can get it by by getting it only 100 Kenya shillings when you send it to M-Pesa number 0769199911 or 0769199911. I'm 0769199911. So I mean, that's the book of the week by Captain Sule, What Really Matters by Captain Chesley Sule. So unaweza tuma M-Pesa hapo, alafu Captain anakutumia kwa WhatsApp the PDF version of the book ama email haraka upesi. So when you send the money, that's the book of the week. Another book of the week, please. That is,
it's called Kenya, Between Hope and Despair.
Okay.
There is a reason why I'm recommending Kenyans to read this book by Daniel Branch.
Okay.
Bitok, you know,
between
it's Kenya, Between Hope and Despair, 1963 to 2011.
Okay.
The reason I'm recommending this book is this, is that we are, after August, we'll be talking of 1 year, less than 1 year.
Who is the writer?
This is by Daniel Branch.
Okay. Daniel Branch, okay.
Yes. And what there is that we've got a lot of people who ask questions. Why, and you've had somebody asking, you know, the colonial project and the family, for power of one family. Let's talk about the power, the overarching power of certain individuals and families over politics in Kenya, and the damage it has done to our society, and what you call the primitive accumulation of wealth. Primitive accumulation of wealth. From 1963 all the way to, let's go to up to 2011. But because of what has happened, especially between 2007 and 2011, and the changes then that were instituted, we can see some of the things have changed, but other things have yet to change. Okay. And there hasn't been emerged people who can then take charge of our institutions in this country. Okay. And I'm recommending because our people are beginning to ask political questions. They should ask from a point of knowledge and information. Okay. So that you know when, for example, we talk about when a politician at the level of the deputy president gives the idea that let's talk about bottom-up approach. What is he talking about? When the handshake between His Excellency the President and the Right Honorable Prime Minister, they say we want to build bridges. What is their philosophy? Because these are all political philosophies. Yes. And then I would want to tell Kenyans that all these people are Kenyans and they are selling ideals to us. But for you to know which to pick the best, then we've got also the philosophy led by the Honorable Senator for Baringo. It's called One Kenya, or the One Kenya Alliance. What is this they are selling to Kenya? What is it they are selling
to Kenya?
How would you understand to sift through the philosophies that they are selling if you do not understand the historical foundations of our country? Yes, and this is what I would really wish people read, especially those who are aspiring politicians. It's a very, very great book to read. I don't want to preempt what is inside there. Okay. That I even want to tell them. When I first told the people about the book, I told them that, do you know that the first land clashes in Kenya, the land clashes, ethnic clashes of a land, did not happen between, the ones we know, people know is between Kikuyu, Masai, Kikuyu, Kalejin. The first ones actually happened between Intimao, between Kikuyu and the Ameru cousins, the Ameru brothers. Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
Way back in 1963 and 64. So people began to understand. And then what then led to the enactment? You remember during that time we've also mentioned here that county governments, the land was then reserved to county government. And you remember even Narok County had to, remember when the late Timama was said when he was chairman of the Narok County Council, he allowed certain people to invest in certain parts of Narok. And you remember it brought an issue. Yes. So what made county governments, the current county government, and then county, what you call the county councils, how did land become the land that was not surveyed, adjudicated and registered, moved to the, and why are those simmering? What happened which makes people then have contest? Why do some people start saying you are not a local, you are not an area? Okay? And why it also took the first, what you call the first marriage of their excellencies, President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, when they came together in 2013. What is this that we're trying to resolve? You're not going to understand these things, and you shouldn't. I have seen some people go on the media houses and debate without knowledge. This is the research that took a very long time and involved a lot of writers. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. It's been a pleasure. But again, the book of the week, so 2 books of the week, Book of the Week, Kenya, Between Hope and Despair by Daniel Branch. You can get the book by sending only 100 Kenya shillings to M-Pesa 0769199911 0769199911. Ukishalipa basi unatumiwa kitabu chako. Kitabu kingine cha wiki ni Between I think I've read that. Another book of the week is What Really Matters. What Really Matters by Captain Chesley Suli. You can only get it by sending M-Pesa to 0769199911. Kitabu ni shilingi 100 tu. Alafu basi tukikutana Jumatatu tunakuja kuzungumzia tuone lini ulianza kusoma kwa hiyo kitabu, alafu tuanze kufanya debate pamoja. Until tomorrow, up to see you again. Naona Jen Mikana sama educative discussion. Thank you Joel Rama, Saba Captain Suli, Joel Rama, Gerald, great session. Asante sana ndugu yangu Chairman Diaspora Edition. Doro ROGB, hello Jalombutias, for levels of men in the traditional Kikuyu culture. Unanyona ni onja nikutume. Aya. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. I have to see you again tomorrow. Kesho tunaanza mambo ya siasa. I have to see you again. This has been the Tackle Common Sense Edition, Life and Money. Until tomorrow, see you and take care. The Tackle loves you and the Tackle ends now. Cheers.